We're going to proceed. We're going to call Randy once the council meeting starts. So, motion to call meeting to order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have a couple amendments to the agenda. Item number 4, I'd like to add West End Bridge. And item number 5 is to go over STIP projects.
What?
Number 5 would be to go over STIP projects.
Step. Okay. From the state, I take it, right?
Yeah.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion by Susan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, if you want to hit the lights. Just to kind of recap this project, the DOT contacted us in the spring and said they're doing some maintenance repair work on the spillway bridge, and they gave us an estimate of $135,000. That was before plans were, prepared and bid. So this last 2 weeks ago, the DOT actually bid the project, and our portion of the project came in at double of what they estimated. So instead of the 135, they haven't done a true split out, and it's going to go to the commission. Then that's when they could release it. It goes to the DOT commission on Wednesday. But they're telling me that looking at it real roughly, you're looking at that $260,000 to $270,000 for our portion of the walkway. Now, taking a look at it, on the screen shows a future bike path grant that we're going to be looking at. So starting at the south end, we're going to be looking at putting in a bike trail right along the Mitchell Christian property on the south side of the bypass. Then going along from Minnesota all the way to Main Street, we would be on the south side of the bypass. And then going up the highway, and this would be not on the shoulder, this would be on a dedicated bike lane that would be off the highway. From here going all the way up along the dike top of the lake, come around on the bridge crossing, and then we come around Kippis Park down along that gravel road, come up on the edge, and then the blue line would be a shared use path along North Harmon Drive, and this has been a want for a lot of the lake residents for many years. And then from there,
would you extend the road, Terry?
Would the road be widened?
I don't think so. We would just paint. We would sign an area, sign the road, and paint. It'd be a shared use path. Right now, there's
what does
no
that
parking.
mean?
Basically, cars
Walk
and
bike.
walkers, bikers could use it. You just need to keep an eye out for walkers and bikers. So
And so which side of the road would you put it on?
it'd be on the north side of the
side?
road, where there's fairly few residential houses. The majority of them are on the south side, and you hardly ever see people parking on the road out there anyway, and they wouldn't be able to park in this area anyway. So then once you get up to the tree area around the curve, then we would move and run the bike trail right along the pine trees. And then from there, then it's actually mountain bike trails from there going all the way to Sandy Beach. So you would have a trail system basically that would then pretty much go all the way around the lake.
How good of a shot do we got for a grant?
Well, we of course have to come up with that 20% like we normally do, but it's worth a shot, I think.
I asked Terry if we ended up going through with this project on the bridge, if that would enhance our capability of getting the grant, and you indicated that it probably would.
Probably would be. Yeah. DOT, one of the first steps they look at is if you have a bridge, you're going to have to put the bridge in. Either it's part of the project or it needs to be done beforehand, and all the property needs to be owned by the city. Well, in a case like this where you only have a 3 to 4 foot wide pedestrian crossing, it's only considered as one lane. So then you'd have to have a bridge or access on the other side. In this case, you don't have anything.
So Shane said something about looking with the DOT to see if they could do something now
Yeah.
so that we could add it in the future.
Yeah, we have the possibility of, right now, the DOT is looking at redoing this bridge, and as part of this project, we would widen that bridge to the 8-foot wide, which would be wide enough for a bike lane. If we wait till the next time, is what Shane was saying, if we wait till the next time, we're gonna have a chance of working with a project with the DOT on a project like this. It could be that 20, 30 years down the road.
Thought he said he had another option for that we could add it, but it would be
We could add it at a later time.
at 8% per
Yeah.
year, inflation.
Exactly. It could cost us a lot more down the road. We could add it as part of the bike path project, but it would be our own project, and it wouldn't be a project connected with the DOT.
So what does that mean financially?
It means that for numbers, it would cost a lot more down the road. I don't have a true number with what that would be, you know.
Terry, on this, we're just talking on the west side of
We're just talking
37
on the
there.
west side, yeah.
And you're talking a 5-foot lane there?
Well, it'd be an 8-foot wide lane.
That's with the
Yeah,
270.
yeah. Now, I did do some checking, and that's why we're gonna go into, well, actually, is there any more questions about the project, not including the funding? I got an idea on the funding.
Okay,
Oh.
so,
When would it be payable?
Payable, we would have different payment periods that would be late this year, but a majority of them would be for next year. We already have 135,000 budgeted.
Right.
For this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, this year.
So
We threw that in
the rest of it
kind of a-
could be appropriated after into
kind of a
next
sticker
year.
shock. Now it's really sticker shock.
Now, I did do some checking. We could use STIP funds. So STIP is our state allocation of state and federal funds that we get.
We could use them and
We could
apply to
use
this,
that, Yeah.
but what would we be taking away from it?
Let me go to that. So
Tony,
here
nice of you to
is,
join us.
here's a sheet that shows a basic breakdown of some possible future STIP projects. Now, this 270,000 isn't in there, but you can see where we're at on our balance. Right now, we have a current balance of 394,000 in our STIP fund. We're gonna build Spruce Street this year, and the money has already been taken out of this list. So in the summer of 2015, we'll get our payment of 550,000, which gets us to a balance of 944,000. Our next project, we were gonna do Fifth Avenue from Main to Burr in 2016, about 1.2 million. So that'll get us in the red about 255,000. Then we'll have STIP deposits in 16 and 17 of 550,000, which will get us to that 844. Spruce Street, we're looking at doing a project in 18 roughly, and we're guessing about 2.5 million. But we're working with the county to get the county to come up with about 300,000 because our share of STIP funds is a lot higher than the county's, and Stephanie is working with Planning District and some other sources to come up with some grant funds. So we may not have to spend that full 2.2, but we're looking at some different community access grants and things like that to get that number down a little bit. 18, so that would mean we could pay off with our STIP in 2021 if we were to still borrow for this bridge project. Now, what we would have to do is apply for, it's called a SIB loan, so we could borrow against our future STIP money, and it just comes out of our, allocation at a 0% interest. And we actually
At zero?
at zero. And we actually did
Why
that
would
for
we
Fifth
borrow
Avenue when we were gonna do both projects at the same time. So we do have a current SIB loan in place for, I think it was about 1.5 million.
So you're showing two projects up there, Terry, in these, like, I guess, 7 years. You don't anticipate any other uses of STIP?
We
or-
had, the big project that we're kind of holding back for is the Spruce Street project. We think that is a project of great need for not only roadway use, but also safety. We're having some safety concerns and issues out there right now. We had one more project on the STIP, which was North Raleigh Street from 2nd all the way to 5th. We actually are going to take that one off, and we're going to have you guys talk about a resolution at the next council meeting. We're going to take that one off so we could reserve that STIP money for some of our bigger projects, and we're going to rebuild that project in-house as part of one of our road projects. But I did check today, and we are able to use our STIP funds for that bridge.
So when we're $1 million, 1,000,004 or 3 or whatever it is, negative out in 2017, do we just borrow against our general fund?
No, we borrow against our SIB loan. So we get a SIB loan for, say,
Oh,
1.4 million. And then when our future payments come out every summer of those following years, it just comes out of that SIB loan.
oh.
So we wouldn't have to borrow against the general fund.
So that's how you want us to pay for it, through
That's
this.
that was an idea, or you could grab that extra money out of the general.
How much money's in the general? We've been grabbing a lot of it.
I'm not sure. But maybe before we go through that, we should go to the next subject. And the next subject is the West End Bridge. Okay? This was a bridge project that was, has been ongoing for the last 5 years. And last year we had budgeted about $170,000, $180,000. And with not knowing where we were at on the bridge, when we came to the end of the year, that money basically went back to general fund. Okay, so we didn't roll that money into next year, to this year, because we didn't know when that bridge project was going to happen. So now that the bridge project has been designed and bid, we need to appropriate about $310,000 for that project, which means that the DOT, they pay for 80%, we pay for the 20%. So the 20% would be $310,000. So I talked to Marilyn about it today. She thought it'd be a good idea to at least give you guys a heads up that that will be coming, that we'll need to appropriate some money for that. So in lieu of that, it might be good to go with the full $270,000 of STIP funds, and then the 135. If it's up to what you guys would want to do, we could use that 135 and reallocate that money to go towards the West End Bridge. And then you would need another 160. So that would be a possibility.
The 160 comes out of the general.
Yeah,
And that would be included into the budget process?
right. That we
Or
would need to ask for additional
which year?
160.
Didn't you just say that the
16?
West End Bridge money has already been set aside?
It was set aside last year, but it didn't get rolled over because we didn't know when so it actually went back to general fund. So instead of keep reappropriating, it just went back because we didn't know where we were at on that project.
Terry, maybe I came in late. Any discussion on the Foster going to MTI? I think you mentioned it last time. I mean, is that at all?
I don't think
talk with
that
the
is
state
in
at
the
all?
vision at all with the state. When we talked about it last year, they said that bridge that's on the interstate, they were doing some rehab work, isn't to a full repair. So that's not going to happen for at least 30 to 40 years. So we wouldn't have the chance of doing the underpass underneath Foster for at least 30 to 40 years.
Wow.
I know at one time they talked about almost 2020 they wanted to do that because
Yeah.
obviously MTI is blowing up and it's only going to get worse. And
When the state
one in
had
the house in
their,
Spruce ain't going to be granted.
when the state had their hearing out at the Highland on the First Street project, I asked them about that, and they said it's not, and any of their stuff up through 2016, not even on the.
On the radar.
So what the plan right now that we're looking at in our office is to build a 5-lane from First Street all the way to the end of the MTI campus. And then we would transition from the 5-lane going down to the rural section road. The problem we're having now is livestock barn is the largest outdoor livestock barn in the state of South Dakota. And they're lining up trucks starting on Tuesday night, Wednesday, and Thursday. And the college students don't have a way to get to the MTI other than going in the other lane and try to sneak over and get through a driveway. So it's a huge safety concern. We've had a lot of talks with the county, and the county is also concerned about the issue, but has some things they need to work out with funding. And so do we. We know it's a big project. We're trying to I guess our thought is to try to save up as much as we can and try to get that project done.
And is that something that would qualify for STIP funds?
Yes. Yeah. We've already been talking to the STIP, to the DOT, and we're going to be, we're in the process of talking to the county, getting a resolution together to where we would bring it to you about getting it on our STEP project.
So that's the one you got listed up there.
That's the one I got listed. Yeah. And it would be a
Oh, to
combination.
end MTI. Oh.
It'd be a combination city, county, STIP project, and then after that, then the city would take over that stretch. Right now, we plow from First Street up to the end of MTI. So right now, we're plowing that stretch.
So Terry, 3 and 5 just go hand in hand tonight,
3
right?
and 5 go hand in hand.
And what's the requirement for getting a STIP? I mean, is it just you apply for it?
Yeah, we just do a resolution. You guys would approve the resolution, and then we send it off to DOT.
And the west end, we just got to figure out.
We just got to appropriate. I would have to add an appropriation, and then Maryland would have to reappropriate the 135 that's already in there into the West End Bridge project.
What's the likelihood of the 550 being consistent through all those years?
Well, hopefully the highway bill stays in place, but that's our 550 is based off population.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so it's probably going to grow. The county's is based off road miles, so theirs is different. The county gets 100 and some every year, where we get about 550.
So is STIP really the only extra means of financing big projects like
What
this?
we are able to use, yes.
It's probably easier than keeping dipping in the general fund, I would assume.
Yeah. You go through a lot more bells and whistles. You go through more steps. Sometimes people say it adds more to the project, but it's a good way to get your allocation of money. The only other way is you have to take a 10% reduction of your money, and then you could use it how you use fit, but then you're losing 10%. So we've always used the STIP type of process.
So what are you
about the
looking
only
for?
vote that I would really want tonight would be about the spillway bridge. I need to give DOT an answer in the morning of what direction we want to go.
I think it makes sense to continue with our bike path project. It's been a few years since we've funded the bike paths, and so I think it's time to get back on it again. And I think this is probably a workable solution. We are going to have the bridge to nowhere, just like we had at the other bike path, but it will eventually hook up.
Yep.
So I'm going to make a motion to proceed with the DOT on widening the walkway at the Spillway Bridge, utilizing the funds, as Terry's pointed
STIP
out,
funds,
the STIP
okay.
funds.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to proceed with this project using STIP funds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to adjourn.
Move.
Second.
Who's the?
Dave.
Dave.
We have a different PA system.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Clean up some of that land out there, we got that bike path. Really-
Is it going all the way down to A Street,
You
Terry?
can feel it, like, really nice.
Dave.
Where the
I guess
Just
it
around
goes to
around
Mel,
the it does. Oh.
Mel,
Just a
Randy,
little.
and Marty.
I'm in charge of the fans, man, you know.
I don't think we all get one. Mel, Marty.
Yeah, absolutely, go for it. You get a light
Yes.
there.
Who all do you want to have these?
Yeah.
Do you have extras? Okay.
Some more if anybody else wants one too. Are we ready?
Yeah, hold on.
Steve's chair.
Do you guys need
Okay.
one over there?
Call the Public Health and Safety meeting to order. Can I have approval of the agenda?
You guys all- Second, sorry.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Approved, or opposed, same sign. Okay. Agenda is approved. We will have Mr. Bathke give us information on emergency management operations. Go, there you go.
Okay, I'm going to have to talk really fast in order to get through this, but each year we are required, I'm Jeff Bathke, I'm the emergency manager for Davidson County, and each year we are required to give the city council a update on the department. So myself is the director, and I do have a deputy director, which is Nathan. Okay, a few things about the emergency management. There's really 4 areas of focus that we have, which is preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation. And we do pretty much anything from fires, tornadoes, floods, any hazardous spills, apparently cows, major fatalities. So if it's just a 1-bedroom house fire, they're not going to call us. If it's a house fire that stretches throughout half the block or there's a fatality, then they're going to call us. We do have an emergency operation plan, which does follow the 15 emergency support functions. So I did include those on page 8. And what FEMA has done is taken those. They've taken any call that you could possibly get in a disaster, and they put them into 15 different areas. So if there's a disaster, there'll be 15 tables, and one person will be sitting at each one of those tables. So whatever the call comes in, it gets assigned to a person, so that if you're the logistics guy, you're going to get all the logistics questions and not who's going to deal with this one. There's one person which we actually, Jenny Kinder's in the back of the room, he's our logistics guy. So we tried to put people in those positions that if a call came in and said we need 8 dump trucks in Ethan for a tornado, you have to have somebody that knows where they can get 8 dump trucks. Obviously, the county doesn't have 8. The city, between the city and the county, they might. But if there's another disaster, they're out working. So we have a list of all the equipment that the private contractors have as well. So we can access that website. We can find we might get 3 or 4 here and 3 or 4 there, and we send them down, and we're ready to go. We do have an EOC in the back of of my office. It's set up for small disasters. If we had any disaster of any type of size, we have to move to our alternate, which is the fairgrounds.
And EOC is
Emergency Operations Center. Yep. Our LEPC, which is our Local Emergency Planning Committee, they are all on page 9. There's a whole ton of people in there. Every one of them deserve a good seat at the table. We discuss anything that has previously happened or is coming up in the county over the next few months. Historically, what an LEPC does for most counties is just deals with spills, chemical spills. Ours goes way above and beyond that, and we talk about planning for the parades and just everything involved, so everybody knows what's going on, and we really rely on each other a lot, and it's a really good group that we have there. We also do a mock disaster, and in May we did a tornado. We're going to try and do another one in the winter of a winter storm. The tornado that we actually had, it's run through the state EOC, so they are literally the boots on the ground at the disaster, and they're calling us saying, I need those dump trucks. This year, the actual tornado we had was the one that took out the fairgrounds several years ago. It's that same one. We also, every year, we get Homeland Security funds. The state used to get $40 million. Now we get $3 million. So if you hear, well, we bought that with Homeland Security funds, let's call Jeff and see if we can use that again. It's probably not going to work anymore. We used to be able to buy pretty much anything we wanted. Now it really got cut back. This year, I think we got, in a countywide, we got around $20,000. So it's not a lot, but it funds great projects. The next page is just a chart, and we don't really have to go over it, but if you just look at the 1 through 6, the process of what you would be checking in a disaster, and then if it was a yes, you'd go one way. If it was a no, you'd stop. If we did have a disaster, the first thing we would do is call in an IMAT team, which is from the State Office of Emergency Management, and they would walk us through the whole process. The key for a disaster, in order to get assistance, is it has to meet a threshold. And the state threshold is $1.41 per person. The county is $3.56. So and it has to start with the state first. So Davison County has to have at least $68,434 in damage. Doesn't take hard to get that. But if it was, say it was Davison County had $500,000 damage, it doesn't meet the 1.1 million that the state needs. So you have to start at the state level first. So when it comes to a disaster, you want it to be above 1.1 million statewide and above 68,000 in the county. You can merge two disasters together. When they had the Weston Springs tornado and the floods down by Sioux City, they were able to merge those two together into one disaster to meet that 1.1 million. And then the city and the county have to do a resolution, and I put a copy of a sample resolution in there, and then we get assigned a FEMA Public Assistance Coordinator. If you can go to to the last page you have in the packet, what I did was took the exact tornado path of Washington Springs, and I overlaid it on Mitchell to give you an idea of what it would, I don't think I have that in there, Sherry, of what it would affect. And somebody asked me the other day when I showed this at LEPC of, well, because the tornado in Weston Springs kind of started at the southwest corner, and they said, well, why didn't you pick the southwest corner of Mitchell? I just picked a starting point of Pepsi and I laid it out on our GIS the way it was. But the interesting part is what it took out if that same, and this was only an F1. So the red stripe's an F1 and the yellow is an F0, which is just strong winds. But the things that it takes out as far as what you would need in a disaster plus what you would need in a recovery, you've got the lumber yard, Mitchell Concrete, Myers Oil, so you have fuel spread out throughout the city and probably starting fires. You have a ton of city and county buildings that are gone. And there's over 200 houses and 16 apartment buildings, the middle school, the hockey rink, the bypass, the railroad tracks. There's just a ton of things in there. And the $44 million in structures, that's only public. That doesn't include any of the city or county that are tax exempt. And it also on the bottom, it'd show you the breakdown of the age of the people. There's about just under 1,400 people that would be affected in that area, and it shows the breakdown of their ages. I did this with Mount Vernon and Ethan as well, and it left about 3 houses in each town on the northwest corner of the city. It pretty much took out everything in their cities.
You're saying this is the Washington Springs?
Yep, that's an exact tornado in Western. Now, when somebody asked me the other day, why didn't you do it on the southwest corner of town? And I said, I just picked that point. But the important thing is, if I would have picked it farther down there, if 45% of your taxable sales are south of the interstate, and it took out Cabela's, Walmart, and all that development down there, you have to look at what it would do to your city budget. And that's what Western Springs is going through right now. They lost about 40 structures. 13 of them have said they're not going to rebuild. So their property taxes just took a hit that they didn't expect. McCook County went through the same thing when they had Spencer. So there's really no way of preparing for that. You budget, it's not there. What do I have next? Search and rescue. We do have a search and rescue in town. We have 20 members, 3 teams. We do have a few spots open. If you know anybody interested, have them call me. We meet once a month for our regular meeting. We exercise our equipment. So if you live between the highway shed and Loomis, you may see us out there driving around. We have all kinds of different equipment. We have a snowcat, which doesn't get used very often, but when they had the Atlas blizzard last year in Rapid, they had 7 of those going 24 hours a day. They put thousands of hours on those, so it's something that we can assist other departments with. We have about 60,000 sandbags, a ton of emergency lights, generators. We have a very good search and rescue that I feel confident that if we ever had a disaster, we have pretty much everything we need to go and assist in that disaster. As city officials, we do recommend that you complete the following courses, ICS, and 1, 2, 7, and 8 are all online. They're real easy to take. They're probably less than an hour each one. ICS 300 and 400 are actually 2-day classes. I took them 10 years ago. They were a week long in each one, so they've really gotten them down. There's no cost for tuition or fees or books. It's just the traveling costs that you have for them. Is that it? I think that's it. Any questions?
Any questions?
How's it working, Jeff, with having the county now absorbing your original duties and job and now taking on this.
Well, we keep plenty busy.
Yeah, I bet you do.
At first, I was very supportive of that, and I still think it's a great idea because there was a ton of overlap between the two departments. And anytime you can share resources on two departments, it just makes sense for the county. And the good part is having a deputy, then we can flip back and forth. So before, you had a planning and zoning department that knew their job and an emergency management that knew their job. But if one's gone and you come in to get a building permit, nobody can help you. So now with two merged together, if I'm gone looking at a whatever, there's still somebody in the office to do that. So it works great for the citizens.
Good.
And
Jeff,
did you
I-
actually get called for the cattle that got out?
Yeah, I grew up on a farm, so it's fine.
Hey, Jeff, I'm not on the committee, but we're doing a disaster recovery thing at our work, and one of the things we look at is the facility, but a tornado or some event like this coming through, there's all kinds of infrastructure damage as you show. Is there any projections? I mean, you're taking out a water tower, you take out a lot of electrical service. What's the reality in recovery in this type of an event?
It would be years to recover.
I mean, the power, the water,
We would work, we work now with utility companies. When we have winter storms, they keep in contact with me. We have a plan because we kind of got caught where before the power went out and we didn't know how long it was going to be out. So now we have a plan that at the 2-hour mark, they call me and they let me know, well, we're going to have it back on in an hour, don't worry. Or they say, it's going to be a day before we get this on, you need to open shelters. So we do, in our local emergency operation plan, it has just about any incident you can have in there with a plan on how to deal with it.
Thank you.
So you have shelters. Where's your shelters in town?
We have here, Corn Palace.
Okay.
There's 6 of them. They should be on on the city's website. We have a couple of churches. We have the fairgrounds. I know we have 6 of them. The Red Cross is who they're through.
Okay.
I don't, not for sleeping. It's an emergency shelter for weather, but not for sleeping.
Okay, Lyndon just had them.
Community center is one.
Lyndon just had them.
Salvation Army. But again, some of them are very restricted on, Salvation Army doesn't have a lot of space, where without construction, Corn Palace has a ton of space. Fairgrounds has a ton of space. And we looked at things of where's a kitchen, where can you sleep, showers, emergency generators. Salvation Army doesn't have emergency generators. Doesn't do you a lot of good if it's a storm and the power's out.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we are adjourned.
Wonder your name in a minute somewhere.
Well,
Just showing here.
yeah.
Call traffic commission meeting to order. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any additions? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion approved. One item of new business is the request to place stop signs at the following locations: South Windsor at Carl Road, South Windsor at Carl Road, and South Gamble at Carl Road. I've had some requests on this, and I think Terry has one. We're not gonna meet the accident criteria or the volume of traffic, but it's been consistent on T intersections throughout town, we have the stop signs up before. And now that we finished Capitol Street, we're seeing an increase in our traffic out there, and that's kind of a request from the neighborhood.
And this is south of Menards?
The South Menards, right. Yep. Just those 3 streets that intersect with Carl Road, as the development has enhanced, and as the traffic has increased, Capitol.
As people exit from their houses, driving out to Carl Road, they stop before they turn
Yeah,
right or left.
They are not.
Right now, there's no traffic control at all.
Have you got contacted by any of the neighbors that say that they did not want it though?
No, I'm not, no. Just request to put it in. Nobody has said they will.
I had one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically said that didn't think that there was enough traffic out there to justify. The only concern they had was there was a brush or a bush or a tree that was on one of the corners that was inhibiting the,
Yeah, we looked at that also.
okay. This is the neighbors are the one that brought this forward then?
I have been contacted,
That's the same
Terry
thing.
did too.
Okay.
People that live out
Curious to see if anybody's here that would like to speak.
there. Is anybody here that would like to address the traffic commission on this?
Sure.
Cindy Roth. I live on Carl Road. And the traffic has been, we've had one way in and one way out. And now with the addition of Capitol Street, there's both ways. And the citizens are used to having, just looking one way, stop and go. And my husband had almost been hit, and he told me that, Cindy, go tell them they need to have yield signs. I put it off until I thought I could create a protest. So,
Kind of just become a bypass.
yeah, people are coming in and out, and Woodland Heights is getting larger also.
So are the stop signs going the north and south and leaving Carl Road open? Okay.
Yes, that'd be the request.
Yeah, okay, I got you. So you wouldn't be stopping, would continue. Okay, I got you.
This, these cul-de-sacs here,
Right,
stop signs up here for these people. This way.
okay. All
Carl
right.
Road.
And that bush is a blind spot also. Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
What's your power when it comes to shrubbery?
Well, it's within that 35-foot triangle, we have a lot of. Otherwise, we can go to neighbors and most of them work with us, we can trim them up. And that's been pretty good.
There's a height restriction, right?
Well, it's within that 35 feet, I know these are outside of that 35 foot, so that's, they're still in boulevard and stuff out of this track.
I'm gonna go ahead and move to approve these stop signs. Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any other discussion? Anybody else in the audience? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Next traffic commission scheduled for Monday, November 17, 2014. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion second by Travis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Adjourned.
Now we're caught up. Since Mel got here, it's a reason. You were missing here for a while. Settled in. Are you okay, Marilyn? All right. Call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
And a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
One item is we've got the 2014 review of the sales tax collection for the third quarter. So Marilyn's going to step us through it.
Okay. I am happy to report that for the first 3 quarters of 2014, January through September, we do show an increase in both the first and second penny sales tax and the entertainment tax or the third penny sales tax. First and second, through the first 9 months is $3,813,325. And we compare that to the prior 9 months for 2013. That was $3,726,885, a 2.32% increase. And then the second page just has the detail. We'll show you month by month. I've now included the percentages monthly, and you can show there's, pretty sporadic changes from month to month, including the end of both the first and the second quarter. Both had negative balances. Entertainment tax is up just a little over 1% at 1.02. And we collected for the first 9 months $503,215 compared to 13's amount of $498,145. So at least through the first 9 months, looking better than the prior year.
Comments or questions? Okay, so entertain a motion to adjourn. Thanks, Marilyn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Yeah. And one of the things, as you pointed out, is hopefully this doesn't happen. But for this, there has to be an anomaly with fear. So you would think that that would come in normal, then. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. It'll be close. I like very good. That's all.
That's all I got here.
Mel snuck in. How's your play coming?
Now, are you using the costuming?
Oh, she knows.
For the meeting script, did you get any of the stuff that?
Yeah, did you see me struggling with the TV? How well this goes, I'm not sure.
I know, but we have all those costumes.
We had
Kept
that
at the old Oscar conference.
So,
projected up there, and the people can't make it into meetings because we're almost full already.
Yeah.
Well, then it wouldn't work today, so I had to find a laptop to hook up.
I wonder if I.
Yeah, but it'll empty out soon afterwards.
and so we will not. Yes, we will, or yes, we won't. We will it not.
And I should go Terry.
Okay. Okay, so just, that there is an amendment that we're doing.
I know, but I know. And you know what the problem is that I'm gone. I could probably make this one. I know.
Not everybody.
I'm in California, these two.
Put on there.
That is such a bummer.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Isn't that so disappointing?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's gonna be very difficult. These are scheduled, so you get your schedule around every 2 weeks. And now, that's right. And so, you know, next week, if you can't get everybody, you're just,
Yeah, I
just
mean,
gonna have to go with the amount of people we can and bring together council.
I was just in San Diego. I think I was really good at this. Is my wedding anniversary, but I would come that night and go, well,
Look, that looks very.
Yeah.
You look where we were going to that.
No, I don't see that.
But now it's a possibility. You know, 5.
This one just came out today. He hasn't had it out. It's not.
I get back.
22nd. So it's not good for a lot of people.
Mel and do you find
You know, it doesn't work for everybody. What does? Never will.
We got her. Better to do it now.
I ended up buying. He's only 6 months, but eventually, you know.
Sure, didn't he?
Public side. And I would say, we'll just bring.
Cindy, that road, I've been on it. It gets traveled more. If there's an accident on the highway, they go through you. But we need it. It's a good access in and out of that area. Oh, sure.
I'm just saying it's the first
We're full.
Carl, can Randy vote?
He can if it's a roll call vote. It just has to be a roll call vote.
Through the phone, you can
Okay,
vote?
we usually got our passes around the room, but I'm gonna put you on speakerphone, okay?
I was told that.
Randy? Okay. All right, they haven't called the meeting to order yet, Randy.
roll call vote.
It's an interpretation, you know, just like anything else.
Ben's got search in the drawer for us.
Yeah, give me one.
I got some gum tonight.
Give me one of those. Give me the whole pack.
Thanks, Randy.
I looked at it right before I came.
Want one of Randy's shirts? You took them out of the drawer.
So they are. I mean, seriously, like they're just all like so cute.
Technology.
Well, you are good at it. They're great.
Susan, Dad's here.
I know. He never missed an orchestra performance. He never missed a debate tournament. He never missed a single thing. Why would he miss a city council meeting, right?
He did.
My dad was here in the orange.
I hunted with him Friday.
He'll get up and wait for right on that. He went hunting with me. or on Friday night, so, or on Friday during the day.
I asked, where'd you go? Hunt out, Marty?
Joel took today and tomorrow, he lives out with his dad.
Jacobson,
So,
Good.
well, he's from Parkland, Colorado. So, you know, we have
Just fine.
So is this right?
He's cute. Aww. This is my favorite thing.
Everyone would please rise. We have some special guests tonight with us. Scout Leader Bruce Gillen and the pack number 77 of the Weedlos Cut Scouts. And I've asked them to come forward and lead us with the pledges of allegiance. So, gentlemen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
The cutest thing ever.
Invocation, do we have someone here from the Northridge Baptist? Good.
All right, shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we gather here in this evening knowing that you are here with us, and we pray that your blessing would be upon all the business that is tended to here by the citizens of our city and the public servants who are representing so many others. And Lord, our prayer is that you would be honored and glorified with all the discussion and the decisions that are made. We know that your heart is for Mitchell and you want what is best for her. And we pray that we would fall under that, Lord, that you would show us and lead us and guide us today, tonight. And so may you be present among us. We invite you here. We invoke the power of your Holy Spirit, and we pray this all in the strong name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Roll call vote. And we have a little bit of a different scenario tonight in that councilperson Randy Dosher is out of state and would be unable to attend the meeting in person tonight, but due to the importance of the items on the agenda, he wanted to participate. So we have him on the phone, and the only real difference that we will have tonight is whenever we will be taking any vote, that we will have a roll call vote rather than a voice vote. Due to his absence, we wouldn't know what his vote might be, so we'll have it by roll call. And other than that, his vote will count just as if he were present. So with that, we will have roll call, please.
Barrington?
Here.
Jarks?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Tronis?
Here.
Rice?
Here.
Allen?
Here.
Dosher?
Here.
Olson?
Here.
And we have a quorum, so we will convene the meeting. Approve the consent agenda items. Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items. Anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Probably just a correction on item G.
Okay.
I don't think MAC paid for the summer ice, but they're welcome to.
That is an error. It's MAC as in Mitchell Activity Center.
Aha.
Okay, so noted. Anything else?
Could you just explain item E? I don't want to take it off. I just was wondering the contract with the state of South Dakota Wildland Fire with the city of Mitchell. Can you just kind of give me, tell us a little bit about that?
It's a contract we have with the state that kind of sets the rates when we get called out to assist in wildfires throughout the state. Mainly it's out in the Black Hills, if we have a forest fire or something like that. We have to do this every year.
Okay.
And it has to take actual action by the council for this one.
Okay.
So,
Rates and the conditions.
I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to remove anything from the consent agenda? If not, we will have a roll call vote, please.
Olson,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Jerks,
Aye.
Tronis,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Barrington, Dozier.
Motion carried. Citizens input, if you need to address the mayor and members of the city council on an item that was not on the agenda, please come forward to the podium, state your name, your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time.
Good evening. My name is Bo Bird, and I am a student at Dakota Wesleyan University. I'm also the Civic Engagement Coordinator, and my intention this evening is just to put a face to Dakota Wesleyan and letting the City Council know that I will be bringing updates to the City Council as far as events that will be going on a monthly basis at Dakota Wesleyan University. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Anyone else? Council or?
I had a question, if no one else is coming up. Terry, we asked a while back about the lights on Ullman that we approved. They are still not up, and I don't know how long it's been since we passed that, but I wondered if you'd heard anything.
I called Northwestern just after that, and I asked them about how long it takes to get them to put up, and they say they put it on their list of projects to do, and once they get open spot for them to get put up, they will work that through their work order process. I will check with them and find out just a timeline of when they think it'll happen.
I guess it was just that I anticipated that they would take advantage of great weather and try and get those up when, and I assume that they haven't been put up around the lake either or any of the other.
Yeah, and they told me they got a bunch of projects on their, list. The ones that are on existing poles, they could probably get to quicker than ones that they have to call and locate, put in a new pole and put in the light. But I'll check on a status of those.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Since you're there, Terry, you want to just give us a little update on our streets? Especially we're making progress.
We paved 2nd Avenue today. Got done with 2nd, and then we went up to Arrowhead Pass and paved that stretch. So now we are in the process of working on East 1st curb and gutter project. Ron, I think, got it pretty much done. If not, I don't know if Ron is in here. And he'll give an update of where we're at on 1st, but 2nd and Arrowhead should be open tomorrow.
Good.
First Street project, there's probably still a couple of days yet worth of work for us to do it, to complete it. We had to jump in and get Arrowhead ready, and we want to try to tighten up some of our patching that we have open yet and try to get caught up a little bit. So it'll probably be later in the week when we get back out in the 1st. Hopefully, we can get a concrete contractor in there next week sometime and get the curb and gutter poured out there.
Anyone else have anything to present to the council or?
Well, as long as I have an audience here in the internet, I was a little late tonight because we're working on the musical. The musical is Once Upon a Mattress. It's the comic retelling of Princess and the Pea. We're doing it at Mitchell High School Thursday and Friday this week at 7 o'clock. We'd invite everybody to come out.
I have one item. You were handed out a worksheet poll that was taken the last meeting. We discussed the possibility of the council members and maybe the department heads or whomever to get together and have a work session and maybe have some goals that we might set and updates as where we're at on different projects and so on. You have before you the results of that poll. Mel's name, for whatever reason, is not on there, but he said that the only meeting that he couldn't make was the one of December 22nd. So There's a couple of dates on there, or several, that all but one member can be there, and I'm guessing that that we will probably have more than one session, so the same person would not be unable to attend maybe not one of the meetings, but would be at the other. So any thoughts as to what you would like to? There's one on November 10th, which is the Monday on the off week that we do not have a council meeting. And one individual could not be at that one. There's another one on Thursday the 20th of November with one person absent, and so on down the line. You can read it yourself. But any thoughts as to how soon you might want to try to get together? And if so, we maybe can set a date for that first work session. And whomever will be unable to make, we can provide them with all of the information that is derived from the work session, so they can get caught up to speed.
Stephanie, you have a preference?
I work for you. I'll be at any of them that work. So
Now,
Randy,
what day
how?
did you say?
The only date that absolutely doesn't work for me is the 22nd. The 20th maybe of November may be problematic, but
You could do the 10th?
yep.
I
any of
can do
those
the
other ones.
10th too. Oh, okay.
And I'd call in, but I'm with my grandchildren, and it just doesn't work out very well when I'm with them. You know, in San Diego, it'll be the last night. I just have a feeling that I won't be all here.
Understand.
But again, there's no one day where everybody can be there. So
Randy, how's it working out for you calling in? Can you hear us all okay?
I can hear you just fine.
How about calling in on the 24th of November?
That I will be in Boston that day. I think my way to the hospital doctor.
Oh, okay. No, you guys go ahead, and I understand if you need to meet without me.
Yeah, I may.
Darn it.
One of those Thursdays won't work. I just, went preliminary that I probably can't, but there's a chance I could. So that would be Thursday the 20th or Thursday the 11th.
Okay.
There's a chance I still may go make that. I just, started off with those.
And Mel, you're about a 50-50 on the 20th?
Yeah, I mean, but, nothing's going to work for everybody. I mean, that's just the fact of life, so.
When would you know, Marty?
As soon as you start dating.
Schedule around it.
I'll switch things around.
And then Mel, what is if it was looking at the 20th, is it something you can?
Well, it depends on when the doctor calls back.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but you could schedule it on the 20th, and then I could tell my wife I had to be here instead of there, and that would get me out of there.
Marilyn's last day is the 21st, so if you want her expertise, that's going to be the last day.
Let's do it the 20th.
yeah,
And if we have to reschedule, then we'll reschedule, but maybe lock it in for now on the 20th.
20th of November will be our scheduled first work session at 6:30 p.m. then. Yes. Anything else for the public input? If not, so we'll move on to committee reports. First, Public Works.
All right, Public Works met tonight. I filled in for Mel, being he was gone at a school function. We had one item on the agenda, but added two more. we had the widening of the walkway of the Spillway Bridge, West End Bridge, and talk about STIP projects. Earlier this year, we had DOT gave us a contract to widen the walkway on the Spillway Bridge. The estimate came in at $135. It was recently bid out with plans and everything, and it came in at double. So roughly $270,000. Some good conversation, and it was approved that we would proceed with moving along with the walkway, the Spillway Bridge, and we would use STIP funds in order to pay for that project. West End Bridge, this has been an ongoing project for the last 5 years, and every year we've budgeted money to pay for our 20% share. For some reason, this last year, instead of reappropriating money every year to continue it on, it either got slipped through or we decided just to wait until the project, we actually had some bid prices. That project came in at $1.4 million, which means we're going to need about $310,000 in order to pay for our 20% share. At the end of last year, we had $170,000 in that account. We let that go back to general fund. So what we're going to do is a little revamping. The $135,000 that we had set aside for the Spillway walkway, we're going to recode that and move it over to the West End, and then I'm going to come in for a appropriation of about $160,000 to cover the rest. And then just talking about STIP projects, I informed the committee that we roughly get $550,000 a year for our STIP projects. And our next project that we have on the list is to work on Fifth Avenue. One of the projects we have had on the list that we were going to attack next year was Raleigh Street from 2nd to 5th. We're going to recommend that we take that off our STIP list, and we're going to build that one in-house next year, and then which will reserve some of that money for 5th. And then at a later project, like in 2017, 2018, we plan on rebuilding Spruce Street and do a project combination with the DOT and with the county to build a 5-lane project from Burr Street to the end of the MTI complex. And then from there, we plan on transitioning. We're working with the county to try to get some funding help on that project. And then Stephanie is also working on some community access grants and things like that we could use to help fund the project. And that was Public Works.
Traffic?
Oh, Public Health and Safety.
I'm sorry. Is that all right? Yes.
Okay. Public Health and Safety met at 6:56 tonight. Davidson County Director of Emergency Management, Jeff Bathke, addressed us and appraised us on the status of the county's emergency preparedness and showed us a potential or a superimposed overview of the tornado if it went through Mitchell and their ability to map out damage and look at recovery processes from that. It was just an informational meeting, and that was the purpose, and we adjourned at 7:12 p.m.
Thank you. Now, traffic.
The Traffic Commission met tonight at about 7:12 p.m. We had one item on the agenda, and the commission approved to place stop signs at South Windsor at the intersection of Carl Road, at South Minzer at the intersection of Carl Road, and at South Gamble at the intersection of Carl Road for southbound traffic. And that was all we had.
Finance.
Finance Committee met this evening at 7:16 with one item on the agenda. The report of the first and second penny sales tax and our entertainment tax for the third quarter of 2014. It showed that actually our sales tax for each penny was up $87,000 from 3.726 million to 3.813, and the entertainment tax was up just a little bit. It was $5,000 from 221, actually 498,000 to 503,000, and that was a 1.02% increase, where the first and second penny sales tax was a 2.32% increase, and the committee then adjourned at 7:20.
Entertain a motion to approve the committee reports.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the committee reports. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Tronis,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Dosher,
Aye.
Barrington,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Sharps,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye. Motion carried. Entertain a motion for the city council to adjourn and sit as the Board of Adjustment.
Move.
Second.
Motion and second to sit as Board of Adjustment. Roll call vote, please.
Dosher,
Aye.
Sharps,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Tronis,
Aye.
Barrington,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Hearing on the application of Travis Kelly for a backyard variance of 6 feet versus 25 feet as required for an addition that connects his garage to his residence located at 620 West 14th Avenue, legally described as Lot 7, Block 10, Capital Edition, City of Mitchell.
If I could direct your attention to the first page of the October 14th minutes, you would see that the Planning Commission did hold a hearing on this request and did unanimously recommend approval of this request, of this variance. So I don't know if Mr. Kelly is here, he's here, if you've got any specific questions of him. Again, there was no objections or anything.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the application for variance. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Rice,
Aye.
Sharps,
Aye.
Dosher,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Are you still with us, Randy?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Barrington,
Aye.
Tronis,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Smith.
Motion carried. Hearing on the application of Michelle Muller Carter for a conditional use permit to operate a daycare in her home located at 1401 South Main Street, number 112, legally described as the Middle Border Estates, City of Mitchell.
Again, if I could direct your attention to the October 14th Planning Commission minutes, you would see that the Planning Commission held a hearing on this request and have recommended approval of this request with two conditions. One, that the application is non-transferable, and then two, if the business ceases for a period of 6 months or longer, then a new application would be required. And that was unanimously recommended. I don't know if she's here, if you've got questions of her, or if anybody else wishes to comment.
Move to approve.
Second.
With the conditions.
With the conditions set forth by the Planning Commission.
Carl, did something turn his off?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the application for the conditional use permit. Roll call vote, please.
Allen,
Aye.
Dosher,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Tronis,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Barrington,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Sharps.
Aye.
Motion carried. Hearing on the application of Dusty D. and Kristen R. Kiner for a lot width variance for Lot 3D-1 of 119.42 feet versus 150 feet, and for Lot 3D-2 of 121 feet, 0.18 feet versus 150 feet, located at 24994 406th Avenue, legally described as Lot 3D1 and Lot 3D2 of D.R. Kiner's First Edition, Southwest 1/4, Section 31, Township 104 North, Range 60 West, Davison County.
Again, this is somewhat related to the plat that you will be seeing when you get to that point. And the reason why this variance is before you is in our zoning code ordinance, it requires that he has to be, the lots have to be at least 150 feet wide if they are platted. And as you can see from the aerial photo that was submitted in the Planning Commission package, you would see that it's somewhat problematic based off where the location of the buildings are. And they wish to transfer some of this property as well. Taking that all into consideration, the Planning Commission has recommended approval of this variance as presented. So,
Motion to approve the variance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the application for a variance. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Jerks.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Dosher.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Barrington.
Aye.
Tronis.
Aye.
Motion carried. Entertain a motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn and the City Council to reconvene in regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Roll call vote, please.
Olson.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Tronis.
Aye.
Dosher.
Aye.
Barrington.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Jerks.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is the funding options for the construction of a new city hall or an indoor swimming pool. Before we get started in that discussion, Doug Daly, the chairman of the Corn Palace Committee, has requested to make some comments. So Doug, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor, council people, and all the members of the community. Again, for those of you who don't remember me, I'm Doug Daly. I'm the chairman of the Corn Palace Area Development Committee. While we understand that tonight has been scheduled for a discussion as to whether or not to move forward with the construction of a new city hall or to change direction and go with a city pool, we figured that now's a good time to address this council, as obviously phase 2 of the Corn Palace project is directly connected to whether or not the city hall would relocate. If you recall, that was a necessity to move forward with our proposal for phase 2. Now, while we understand that it's this council's decision on what our priorities are within the city and whether you move forward with the new city hall or the pool, or neither, I guess you could say, the decision will affect the, I guess, current status of the Corn Palace project. Whatever you decide, we understand that that's done in the best interest of the community. We would like your consideration that in the event that you choose not to move forward with the city hall, that you would consider finishing a couple, at least one particular piece of phase 1 that we have been hoping to complete within phase 2. And that would be the tile facade around the lower portion of the outside of the Corn Palace. That was actually bid as an alternate, and when the bids came in slightly higher than what we expected, that particular piece was chosen to be excluded from phase 1. It wasn't excluded because we didn't think that it was material for what our envision of the look of the Corn Palace would be, but it was excluded because we felt that that portion of the project could easily be done either after the completion of phase 2 if we had sufficient monies left over in our contingency fund, or throughout phase 2. Now, at the time we were looking at phase 2, we understand that it was underfunded, meaning that we needed to come up with more money to finish that portion of the project. And so that at that time we thought that if we were able to come up with the extra money, we'd be able to come up with the extra money for the facade. I have had Katie pass out just kind of a rendition of what our proposal for the Corn Palace originally was presented to look like. And just to bring to your attention, the portion of the project that I am talking about is the brick portion that's the lower 9 feet of the Corn Palace. Originally, there was a lot of decorative work on that on those bricks. It was either by paint or other things. Ultimately, at some point, was covered up. We felt that that was necessary to bring back some of the original decor of the Corn Palace, and that it basically completes the entire picture with regard to the redesign of the outside of the Corn Palace. Now, again, we feel that if you decide to move forward with the pool, obviously City Hall and the phase 2 would be at least indefinitely postponed at this particular period of time, and so that it may be some number of years before we move forward with anything, if at all. And so we'd like your consideration that in the event that you do go forward and change direction, that you, if the money is going to be reallocated, that you consider appropriating enough money to cover this particular piece that was left out of the original phase 1.
How much was that?
It actually, at the time, the bid amount for that was $260,000. $68,000 in change. And just so you know, we had, I think that either the mayor or Councilman Barrington has passed out some numbers. We had about $303,000 in contingency funds, which was 10%, I believe. Anyway, so we do believe that there is going to be some money left over there. We don't know how much yet. To date, they've used almost $33,000 of contingency funds, and there's about $269,000 left. Now, while we'd have to I guess, have a quote on that, whether we go through the bid process or not, our architect said that they wouldn't expect more than probably a 5% increase in that cost from what the original bid was, if at all, I guess you could say. And so what we're asking your consideration to do is, if you reappropriate the money, set aside enough to be able to finish that portion, as we will then believe that we've finished the picture that we had proposed to the community of the entire outside of the Corn Palace. At this point, we don't know if it's going to be an extra $100,000 or if it would be more than that. It would just depend on what other contingencies arise between now and the completion of phase one.
What's the completion date if we did something like that? Would you, obviously you'd do it now because everything's torn apart.
Well, but this is the reason we left this for the second time, because this doesn't necessarily materially affect the ability to utilize the Corn Palace, because it's all done on the outside. We'd actually be delayed a little bit because it would be custom built tile that would still need to be produced, manufactured. And so realistically, because of the winter rolling around, that was originally something we were hoping to do right away, we wouldn't be able to get at the project until the spring, which would ultimately then extend the project from what its current completion date is, but it would have to be started next spring.
What is the completion date on the Corn Palace now?
You know,
April.
April 3rd.
Yep. Okay. And they didn't know if it would extend a lot at all. I mean, obviously their timeline where they'd like to get it done at that time, but they said there might be a few more weeks. Definitely not through the summer, but a few more weeks to get it completed.
That all depends on what spring brings us.
Right, and then there's a lot of options. If you decide to move on, you know, we need to come up with funding options anyway for phase two of the Corn Palace. And we've talked about in the past, if you do decide to change direction, we may potentially be looking at trying to get a private agency to help assist in obtaining donations or funding to complete phase two, or at least whatever is not available at the time we ever decide to move forward with that, if that's the route you go. So, you know, at that point, maybe, you know, the council would consider setting aside another small amount to pay for those type of costs. But we haven't, that's a kind of a tough one. You don't want to put the apple before the horse on that, because you have to know whether you're actually going forward and in what kind of time frame before you can go out and look for money. So
A couple things that I want to add is a liaison on the Corn Palace Committee also, and I know Randy is on it also, so he might have something to voice. Currently, I think we all got in our emails from Stephanie that there is roughly $270,000 in contingencies. I believe from visiting with Terry, there is a few more that are going to be coming through the pipeline. Roughly, what, about 40,000 do we figure, Terry?
Probably under 50 that we know right now. Some are credits, but the concern that I have is when we attack that floor, we don't really know what kind of issues we're going to have. So it would be nice to leave as much as we can available until we know, once we tear out that tile, of what we're going to run into underneath there. There might be some old Trazio floor that we might have to put like a skim coat or something underneath before we, grind and seal and sand.
And so roughly taking the 50,000, it gives about 220,000 left contingencies. Knowing that there could be a few more, speaking with Eric himself also, and once again, we all know there could be anything going on. Eric feels that we've got through the skeleton portion of it. Any big numbers or any other contingencies that would come along, he's expecting to be pretty minimal as in numbers. Nothing coming along of 100,000 or 150 or something like that. Obviously, he can't speak for that, but from what he's known in the part of the project that he's been on, he believes that we're past the big numbers, I guess is what he's trying to get at. So going back to what Doug was saying before, obviously our thought processes is obviously whatever's left in the contingency, using that towards the mosaic tiles. Granted, you can clearly see we're short already, roughly maybe 75, maybe up to 100,000 to get that portion of it filled and put together. our biggest thing is when we came to do phase one, if we're not gonna move to phase two, once again, what the council decides here pretty soon, let's at least finish what we always wanted to on phase one. We've put a lot of money into the Corn Palace, and the bottom 12 feet of the Corn Palace is gonna be exactly what you see out there right now. Anything above that, all new, beautiful, getting back to the older look of what the Corn Palace is, and then we're gonna stop right there. The day that this one took out, I actually found out about a month later, it must have been gone that council night, so I was totally shocked that the mosaics got pulled out, being on the committee. Since then, I've been working with the council a little bit, trying to get it back in, and tonight is obviously that option, what we're trying to exercise is if we wanna not do phase two, like I said, I'm just asking you, we need to finish phase one, otherwise we have a half-completed Corn Palace on the outside. The first thing you see, a lot of people don't go in the Corn Palace, but they do stand outside it, and it's not gonna look right if we don't put the mosaics on. So asking for your consideration to hopefully move forward with that process in April and get that out where it's going to be at. So
I don't think it makes sense at all to start a new project when we still have one that, as Marty pointed out, was in phase one. We looked at it, we agreed to it, and a little bit of a history is when the numbers came in and Doug and the committee worked with the numbers that and the amount that we had. And so we did set that aside with the understanding that my recollection was the council pretty much verbally committed that we will find funds because that is an integral part of this project. And as far as I'm concerned, we can't move forward with any other project until we finish it right, phase one. So I'm going to support it, Marty.
And I just want to comment, I don't know what that number is. I mean, I don't know how much of the contingency may be used. I wouldn't certainly expect that what's left there today is going to be left there. You know, so it's certainly possible that we run into a big thing. We might be seeking 300,000, I guess, to finish that portion of the project. And so I just don't want to, I don't want to come up and say we're only asking for 200,000 of the 100,000 of the 300,000 or whatever the case may be. I know that that add-on portion of the project is 265,000 essentially, or it was bid at that point or at that price earlier this year.
and the only way that would probably happen if we have a big surprise that comes through, which obviously would have to come through a change order to be approved and done, and then obviously we can revisit this. But we know, like I said, based off what we're hoping to believe, we're hoping with that numbers to be within 100,000. But like you said, if something does come up, it's got to come back through council anyway. I think we all know what council can do, can say no just as quick as we said yes. But before we get into these next couple of discussions, we want to make sure that something is set aside a little bit to finish what we started out with about 3.5 years ago. These other projects that we're going to talk about tonight obviously are definitely of value to the community, as much as the Corn Palace is. We all know how long that's been around in our community and making it very prosperous. And we stopped halfway. And that's what people have been telling me. Don't stop halfway on your projects. Well, we're going to do it to this one if we don't finish phase one.
Any more questions? If not, I appreciate your time. I just wanted that to be brought to the forefront before you have these other negotiations. We don't know which way you're going to go, but I want you to take that into consideration.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
I just got a couple things that I want to bring up about the project and some other projects to also think about. When we went through budget season earlier this year, I had the south side of the Corn Palace pedestrian walkway access as part of the budget. It was pulled because we were over budget. So that would be another project. It wasn't part of the Corn Palace project, but I've been asked where we at. Are we going to build that pedestrian walkway access for next year? And I said it's not part of next year's plan just because it was pulled. So that would be another one. And with talking to Eric, the architect, he said it'd be great to try to add that back in there because we really saw with shutting down Main Street this year of how much of a pedestrian loved area 6th Street was, and we're going to continue to have it closed, but without having it built for the pedestrian network, we're going to have to plow it because that's going to be our main access for events and stuff like that coming in. So we're going to have it, keep it as a pedestrian friendly area, but we're still going to close it to traffic from now on.
What kind of cost you're looking for?
I was estimating roughly in that $200,000 range. So
200 even?
Yeah, it could be a little plus or it could be minus, all depending on once we get it designed, once we get some bid prices for the colored and stamped concrete, and then we'll have to do some drainage also. The other one that I would like to not forget about is the ADA seating in the arena. We had some little holdups during the process because we needed a safe area of refuge for the people that are up in the second level. But I think that's a possibility that we could maybe incorporate into the upper hallways that are on both sides of the arena to where you could create a safe area of refuge. Recently, we have had requests for handicap seating in the Corn Palace, which we don't have any in an area. And the idea when we went through this process is whenever you do handicap seating, you also need to have companion seating for your family members. So you can't just have an area for a handicap space, but you also got to have a place for your family to sit with you. And so I would continue to want to look at that one also, because even though the code says, well, you're grandfathered in, you don't need to add it, I don't buy it. I don't really buy that because you still need to add handicap seating. Right now, our handicap seating is maybe put some up on the stage or put some on the floor. Well, when you got a ball game and things like that, it's not always feasible. Or like we ran into, we had one handicap seating request for the bull ride, and we were able to have a spot real close to the floor up on that first raised section. But we're going to get we're going to get questions about it here and there, and it would be nice to take a look at that in depth because we need to pay attention for the ADA.
So where would you put that?
What the plan was originally was it was up in that, I call it the third level. The first row, we would take out a row of seats, and then we would add handicap seating and, companion seating. If we didn't have, if we had a need for more seating, then we would add regular chairs. So you could still, you're not really losing seats. We would add regular chairs in there and then take them out if we have handicap needs. The thing you got to look at is you got to give handicapped people the same option you're giving somebody else. So if you're saying, my only handicap seating is over there, well, then maybe they're tucked away in a blind spot from another activity over on the other side. So we were going to create it all the way across the arena on the top floor. So I would still want to continue to look at that option. Back when we took it off the table, talking with Marius, with the fire department, felt that it was going to be a tough issue in order for us to handle. But the more we talk about it, we would like it to look at it deeper, because we think there's some options and some possibilities there.
I guess I'm a little bit confused. What does it look like? Because why is this, if we're still going to have regular seating for family members, what do you have to take out? I mean, how many chairs? Tell me how it looks. What is it?
We were going to take out, I think it was Marius here, 120 seats. And then we were going to basically have a place where you could have a handicap wheelchair coming in. Now we have, we do have the elevator coming up to the second level. They would come around the hallway, come into an area that they could access. And then in areas where they wouldn't have a seat, it would be a regular chair that they could sit next to their companion that was in a wheelchair.
And you need to take it out because you need the width. Is
We
that
need
what
the
you,
width,
okay.
yeah.
That's what I
You
was.
need an access for people to get through there and not having a step. You need to have a landing for people to go in there. During a fire or a period where we need to exit them out right away, then they could go in those safe passage areas to be in a safe zone until we could get access to them.
And what's the cost of that?
It was about 38,000, if I remember.
Yeah.
They were just gonna modify that row where you have those two entryways from the sides.
Right.
Take out those seats and then retrofit it, and it was taken out just based upon concerns for getting people out of there.
Sure.
But at some point, we determined, and the council determined that was something that was critical to provide for those people in our community that have disabilities. So I appreciate you bringing that up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that we were at all, public safety wasn't against, the seating in that area. It was just that there was no backup plan, that if there was a fire or some sort of reason that they had to get out quickly, there was no secondary egress. So once they were up there, if they couldn't use that elevator, because in the case of a fire, that elevator shuts down and returns to the first floor. And it isn't operable until the fire department gets there. So if we had 40 people up there and 4 people arrive on that first fire truck, we are inundated with just trying to get people out of there. So it wasn't that we were against that. It was at the end of the design phase, and it just wasn't a good plan at that time. We've since talked about an area of refuge where they could get separated, a fire separation type thing or something like that on that level. And we're totally behind that, and gives us some more time to be able then to start getting them out of that area. Price range, it wasn't that bad. I don't know what the design would be on getting that fire separation, but it's definitely something that'd be doable in the future here. So that's where we were at with that. So.
Okay, thank you. I handed out a sheet to the council members and to the press, and I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I thought it might be helpful to provide a scenario of funding for each of the 2 projects, the City Hall or the indoor swimming pool. And they are very similar in nature, but not the same. There are some funding sources for one and not for the other, but I wanted to give you, as I said, a scenario of the possibilities that exist for funding for the City Hall, and I'm using $5.5 million as an estimated amount to include, I think, most of the features for a City Hall, and that would be using the existing monies that were appropriated by the bond, and we added $875,000 to that, which is included in that, and then subtracted from that $260,000 that was used to acquire property. And the council has appropriated $250,000 for the 2013, 14, and 15 to be utilized for capital funds. There's some monies left over from the ice hockey arena, and a few years ago we loaned $500,000 to the Mitchell Area Development Corporation to build what is known as the verification building, and that is due and payable in 2015, and so that would be a source of money that could be used for either of the projects. And then the monies remaining from phase 2 of the Corn Palace project, and also, as you see in there, we did add back in about $270,000 for the ceramic tile, and so that gives you a kind of a breakdown of what sources we have available to use for construction of a City Hall at an estimated cost of $5.5 million. Now, on the side of the swimming pool, all of those first items that I mentioned remain the same. However, with the indoor swimming pool, there was a commitment from the Aquatic Club of $1 million or $200,000 a year for each of the first 5 years. And also, this is something that has been discussed. It has not yet been voted on nor approved, but it was brought to the motel owners the possibility of enacting a $1 bid. We're permitted to have a $2 bid, which is $2 per rented room per night that could be used for projects throughout the city, and $1 of that is already dedicated, but there is a $1 bid that we could enact, and it would generate about $170,000 a year. Now, on that, the explanation said would be an annual fee of about $170 that would raise, and again, this has not been decided upon, but a figure that was suggested that they would be maybe willing to enact the bid would be up to $1 million. So that there would be about $1 million that would be generated from the bid, and then there would still be a balance that would be needed to fund And again, these should it be decided that the indoor pool is the project that you go forward with, and depending on which option that you choose to go forward with, if you decide on the pool, but the one with a 25 meter by 25 yard pool was about $8 million. So if it should be that that would be the option that would be decided upon, then it would be necessary to sell bonds and to the amount of about $1,500,000. And we think that that we could do that through our local banks. And that then would be the funding mechanism, maybe with some variations, but at least it gives you some idea of what monies that we have and what sources that we would have to fund each of those projects. And so with that, I guess I would entertain any questions that you might have regarding that, but if not, we'll open it up for discussion. So, council, public, anyone wish to step forward and express opinions on either of the projects? I guess the order of that we're taking this is the first City Hall, so I think that we will follow that pattern in that the first comments might be limited to discussion on the City Hall.
I guess I have had quite a few calls recently. I mean, the great thing is we've probably seen more involvement from the citizens on this than we sure as heck did on the Sunday liquor law. But, and that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. But I'm getting, it's 50-50 in the calls I'm getting as to which project people prefer. And the big question we get is, why do we go through all the process for the Corn Palace and the City Hall, have 3 to 5 years, and then a month and a half it all changes? Why don't we execute the plan that was there? And I don't have a good answer for that. So I'd like to know why there's a priority for the pool at this point in time when somebody in previous councils and a lot of committees did all this work and said this was the plan when we did $13.2 million bond last year. I don't have an answer for the constituents that called me, so I'd like to know what is the priority today.
I have been asked that same question, Dave, and basically what I've been telling people is we were on course with our budgets and our estimates as they were, and we had 3.2 that was set aside for City Hall, and when it came in 72% higher than the estimate, then at that point we needed to step back and take a look and get some input, but how we were going to come up with the additional funds. And so in my mind, that was the reason why we, as far as I'm concerned, just took a step back and wanting to make for sure that the citizens do want to move forward with the City Hall. In the meantime, then, obviously, we were given at least or approached by the swim team and the MAC people saying that, you know, we would like to consider moving forward with a pool, and in the process we will raise $1 million toward the project, and it's estimated that the pool that we're looking at, a competitive type pool, will cost around that $6 million. Professional estimates are coming in saying that, yes, that's pretty much what it is in today's dollars. If you do want to take a look at adding the recreation part of it, then that would, and that was a discussion that we're going to probably have also, is does it make sense to move forward with the pool at all? And then if it is, then the leisure type amenities that's going to come along with it. So as far as I'm concerned, the real question came, or the answer to the question would be, once we were given professional estimates, then we had to step back and basically discuss all the options at that point. And then, you know, as we've got funds available, as Ken and Marilyn have brought forth, what is the best for the city of Mitchell? So that's the way I've been answering it, right or wrong.
And I sort of echoed off of some of my constituency. What they sort of came back with, a few of them, not everybody obviously, a few of them came back to the point that if the roles were reversed and we had a pool or voted on a pool for $5 million and it came at $8 million, do we stop on the pool or do we find the $3 million? Referring to the point that if City Hall, we had 3.2 and it comes in at 5, or right now I know it's 6. Question is, do we got to build a $6 million City Hall? I don't even think I'm in favor of that. We got to figure out how to scale it down and get what we want. But the question is, do you stop building City Hall, move on, or do you find the extra money to finish your City Hall project that we've already all voted on, supported from the community aspect, and we once again we bonded $13.2 million. So that's sort of what I'm getting from too. Like, you just give up on it? No, you've got 3.2 million. If you need another $1 million to get the right one done, we'll find the other $1 million then first before you take the 3.2 you had allocated and move it over to different projects. So some of the response that I've been hearing when I do that kind of thought process with them.
I've heard response on both sides, but an overwhelming response is don't do nothing with the city hall. Don't go forward with it. Go with quality of life and go with the swim pool.
And I guess maybe an explanation of what would happen regardless of which project is voted on tonight. Obviously, we will not be able at this point to fund both projects. So what does that mean? We have, at the present time, some bonded indebtedness for the BY Water project, which will be paid off in 2019, I believe. And we also have a debt service for the Hitchcock Aquatic Center, which will also be paid off in about 4 years. So in about 4 to 5 years, we will gain an amount of around $1 million a year of monies that could be dedicated towards the construction of either a city hall or an indoor swimming pool. So depending on which one is approved, if either of those are decided upon tonight, I would say that the delay in one or the other of the projects would be probably about 4 years before we would be able to have the capacity to undertake one or the other of those projects.
And under the current pool scenario, there's like 1.69 million we don't have, right?
That's, yes. Or 1.5 is the...
Plus the 170, because we don't know about the bid.
Right.
So we do, and like I said, we bandy around $2 million like it's easy money. And I know where I work, that's a lot of profit. That's a lot of hard stuff. And so I'm looking from the taxpayer and the city's perspective that we better be real serious about what we do and how we get there. And I guess that's my...
And the only other comment that I would like to make regarding this certainly is all tax money, but it is not funded primarily through property tax. So again, whichever of the projects that is decided upon, it will not result in a property tax increase. These are going to be funded primarily from sales tax revenues.
Now don't get me wrong, I'm not, people that know me know I'm about youth sports. I've helped put in 2 ice arenas. I've helped put in soccer fields. I mean, it's not about that. It's about, I want to make sure that what we do is right for the right reasons.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Randy, go ahead.
Okay, I kind of have had the same results as Dave has. The key thing is when I'm looking at what the comments I'm getting, about 90% of the pool are people that are affiliated with the aquatic club. The ones I'm getting that are affiliated with City Hall, pushing for City Hall, are pretty much just normal citizens of the city of Mitchell. And so this is what I'm really struggling with is, are we addressing the aquatic club or are we addressing the citizens of Mitchell? That's where I'm having my dilemma right now. So I'm waiting to listen to some of the comments before I can really make a choice.
Well, for me, I'm a little taken aback by the shorthand of this, it's a pool versus city hall, and that really is not what it is. It's a pool that has sort of popped up like a gopher, as far as I can tell, and renovation of Main Street and a continuation of the vision for the Corn Palace. You know, if we could do phase 2 of the Corn Palace without moving City Hall, we would do that, but we can't. And, you know, in the old days, word of mouth was, I would go to an attraction, I come back and I tell Steve over a beer, oh my God, don't spend any time at this attraction. But now word of mouth is the internet. And millions of people see it. And for better or for worse, and I know there are community leaders who don't like the fact that we're the Corn Palace City, but for better or for worse, we're the Corn Palace City. And when visitors come and what they see is a barn, that's not good for repeat business. We are the first date for the city of Mitchell for people who come in from outside the community. And if they come in and there's something to do, there's something interactive, there's something to explain the uniqueness of the place, it's not just the biggest ball of string, then maybe they get interested in this area. Now maybe they go to the Dakota Discovery Museum, or they go to the Archaeodome, or they spend a little more time in town. And I know a number of the emails that I've received, again, from basically pool people, you know, the aquatic club, is, well, we can have 2 extra events in town. And I don't doubt that. But you weigh that. In the 90s, I was a tour guide at the Corn Palace. And admittedly, there were some special things going on. It was the 50th anniversary of Rushmore. It was the 50th anniversary of Sturgis. So it wasn't a usual thing. But we had 500,000 people come through the Corn Palace. I don't know how many drove by. I don't know how many stopped on the interstate and then went on. But 500,000 through the place. And admittedly, there were some special events in the state. Now we're down to 250,000. At what point are we going to say, we need to understand it's a different tourism environment now? It's not just enough to be the biggest ball of string. It's not just enough to be pretty on the outside. There's got to be something going on the inside. So whatever people want to do is fine, but let's not talk about it, a city hall versus a pool, because that, frankly, is not what it is. Do we want to continue investing in the jewel of the city, the Corn Palace? In which case, we have to move out of here. It involves a new city hall. And then, are we going to build a city hall for the next 10 years or the next 70 years? And I would rather spend a little more money than in 10 years have people say, oh my God, you wasted all that money. Look, the city hall doesn't meet the needs. Or do we want to put up a third pool? People talk like we don't have a pool. We have a rec pool. We have Hitchcock. I understand we can't host meets at the rec pool. But it gets to the point that Randy was making. Who are you spending $8 million on? The Corn Palace is pretty clear. It's the community. It's an investment in tourism. It's an investment in bringing people into our city, not just stopping for, $20 of gas on the interstate. So that's where I am. And we don't have the money for a pool anyway.
I've struggled with this decision, and I've sought a lot of input from people, and I've received a lot of input from people. I've struggled because I'm on the Mitchell Main Street and Beyond Committee, and I serve on the CVB, and I remember when I talked to the mayor first about why I would want to serve on the city council, one of the reasons I said was because I'd really like to see us beautify our downtown. I mean, that was one of my objectives. So obviously, I would love to see a new city hall. I would love to see us do phase 2 of the Corn Palace. But I think people have opportunities come up all the time where their opinions or their priorities change, or they have to reassess and they have to step back and they have to decide what has become most important in their lives. And I do it all the time in my own personal life, so I don't see why our city should be any different, and unfortunately it's not. And I think that a couple, you talk about the swimming pool coming out of nowhere, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that it's been a topic of conversation for a long time. It's something that has been on our want list for a long time. I think that one of the things that precipitated this and that makes this a little of a more urgent nature is the fact that the facility that the swim team is working in right now is subpar even for practices, much less being able to have any kind of events. I think if I'm correct, it's got about a 5-year life, and we're at 5.5, if I remember the numbers. So I think that, that brings this to the forefront. It makes it become something that we need to at least, look long and hard at. And then when the city hall bid came in at such a high amount, then that was really the thing that gave me pause. I hope that we will be able to, and if I have anything to say about it, I would like to say, I promise, but I can't promise, but I would like to say I hope that we can do the city hall and the second phase of the Corn Palace project in 4 years or 5 years or whatever, at least look at that point. But what I see with the swimming pool, and the reason that I think that this is where we need to be putting our resources, is not just for the group of people assembled here today, which, don't get me wrong, I think that our swimmers they deserve it. As a community, we deserve it. But I believe that our community, the families that have kids that want to grow up and swim, I think they deserve this. I'm not doing this with just the Mitchell Aquatic Club in mind. I'm thinking of all of the families that live in our town. I'm thinking of when personally, I probably could use a little back exercise class and some of those other classes that are offered. And I think it's for everybody. I don't think it's just for a small group of people. And certainly we have a limited lifespan. I'd like to think that our rec center pool will last forever. It may and it may not. But at this point, I think that we need to invest in kids, invest in families. I think that the city hall, it would be a beautiful ornament on our main street. But I don't think a lot of people from our community would go in and out those doors for $5 million at this point in time. And quite frankly, the second phase of the Corn Palace, we would be doing that for the tourists as well. I know that at the end of the day, I get it. I understand. But I think that if I have to prioritize, and I'm doing this with the budget that we have, like I would do it with my own budget at home, and I'm thinking, at this point, my vote would have to be to do a pool and support that project first, with the very strong, fervent hope that in 4 years we're going to see a new city hall down on First and Main. And let me just say, I would like to see us put a little park, put some green space down on that corner of First and Main. I think we could make it look beautiful, and it may not be the city hall that we're hoping for, but how great would it be to have some green space on Main Street, right? Okay, so there's my 2 cents worth.
Ryan Huber. I just about sat down after I listened to Susan speak, because I think she said it perfectly. If you remember, Dave, to your question about the chicken or the egg with City Hall or Mitchell Indoor Pool, back in 2009, when the school district shut down the pool at the middle school, we came to the council and asked for help at that time, much before I think anybody ever started talking about a city hall. But besides that, if you look at what Focus 2020 did about that exact same time, they were discussing, and committees talked about, the need for some partnerships and for an indoor pool. And so, to your question, I would say that this has been on the radar since 2009, and it got brought back to the front burner instead of the back burner once City Hall came in significantly over budget.
I agree, and I saw the Focus 2020 stuff, and the discussion was there a long time ago. And it still boils down to the money. We don't have the money for the pool in our hand. We do probably have the money for City Hall.
Well, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you done?
Now, and the other thing that I was going to say, there is no loser. I mean, the city of Mitchell wins either way. There is no loser in this deal. They're great projects for both sides. So I just want to, we need to be realistic and address both sides.
There's just a couple of things that I would say in response to what's been going on here. The Corn Palace was mentioned in Focus 2022, and this type of project was mentioned. So I don't argue that the pool was mentioned in Focus 2020. I'm just saying that, both have been there. It's interesting to me that we seem to be saying we don't have $7 million to finish our priorities of moving the second phase of the Corn Palace in here and building a city hall, but we will somehow have $8 million to build a pool. I find that interesting. Then I do think it really matters where you put it. A lot of support evaporates if you put it in one location versus another. And I think it's a little disingenuous to say we're going to talk about putting a pool in without having a location, because many of the calls that you received might have gone the other way had people thought you were going to put it one place rather than another.
Good evening. I'm Ed Potzler. I want to make a public statement to the MAC. I was inundated by calls today from an article my wife wrote, which associated MAC with a cartel. The word cartel actually is appropriate. The fact that the underworld has taken headlines in it, I apologize for, but nothing derogatory was meant by using the word cartel. Webster says it's a group of people that have like meanings and motives. So I'll leave it there. In looking at the proposed construction cost and funding, I've lived my life. I'm retired. I'm living off savings. I hate debt, and I see the city spending a lot of money. My wife saw it. She wrote the article, and the main thing is, we think there's some infrastructure issues that have to be addressed in the very near future, and a lot of that funding is being used up now. When I look at the list for the pool, there's $1 million proposed by MAC. I'm not saying they won't come up with $1 million, but that, according to the last sheet that they published 3 years ago, as a corporation, they did not have nearly that kind of money to make a commitment. I understand a lot of that's going to be coming from donations, but how long and how long will those last? There's another $170,000 in money that's not even promised that will be possibly added to the $1.5 million, bringing it to $2 million. I am just really concerned. People say quality of life. We have an underutilized rec center and pool. Anybody who goes there during the day, I do every day, finds out that the pool is hardly used. In the morning, I am told it's used quite a bit, so that's the one-time slot I can't speak to. As far as the rest of it, we were looking at a $12 million rec center with all new equipment and an indoor pool to be built someplace. I think that perspective and that objective as a future project would be very worthy of the city of Mitchell. But trying to piece together a new rec center or putting a new pool with an old rec center, or worse yet, putting a new pool on somebody else's property, I think has to be considered very seriously. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, my name is Sue Bennett, and I've been here meeting after meeting after meeting. And I wouldn't do your job for the world. But I do know that if I don't have the money at home to pay my bills, I have to cut back somewhere. And to say that you're $1.5 million short is amazing to me. 1.5 million. I mean, my God. And so there's a point that, yes, we're over budget on the city hall. Yes, it's over expectations on the pool. But I am at the pool every day, and I do know that it's utilized. And I see and have heard all of you say, 10, 15 years down the road, we're going to need a new rec center. Then what are we going to do? Because you've got a pool here, we've got a pool right now. We've got a pool. Anybody that wants to bring their kids on a Saturday afternoon and have a pool party, more power to them. The fact that we're not utilizing what we have is shame on us. But that doesn't mean you just go out and build something for $8 million. We don't have that money. So whatever you do is going to be, as one of you said, somebody's going to be walking down the street and some citizen's going to say, what in the world were you thinking? It's a lose-lose. But any way you look at it, you don't have the money. So use what we got. And in 4 years, hopefully we can build that pool. But in 10 years down the road, when you need a new rec, you're going to need a pool there, or you're just going to blow that off. So use what we have now and work towards having the money and build it when you can build it. But there's nothing finished right now. There's no finished Corn Palace. There's no finished Phase 2. There's no nothing. And so I'm just asking, finish one thing, move on to the next. And I feel bad for the Mitchell Aquatic kids. I do. But you're not building a pool for me. I have a pool at the rec. You're building a pool for them. And we've got a pool that we own. Let's just utilize it for a while. Thank you.
Council, before Mark gets up here, the voice, I'm the liaison of the park board, and I don't know if Dusty wants to talk a little more on it. Just wanted to voice their opinion or their thoughts process. Deciding what the council does, if it's City Hall or if it is a pool. If it does decide to be a pool, the park board recommends to obviously take a good hard look that wherever we locate the pool at, that the Park and Rec's future is also there. They believe those two entities need to be tied together. So that is just a recommendation and thought process from the park board, which will be in next month's minutes, of course. So I just wanted to voice that out. And I believe I stated that right, Dusty, is that correct? So just keeping that in mind, and it tied off of what her comments were a minute ago about putting things together, and I want to make sure that you understood the voice of the park board.
Thank you, Marty. My name's Mark Bowie, and I was involved with Focus 2020, which happened about 5 years ago. One of the most impressive things that I've heard this evening already has been Doug Daly and his committee and the hard work that they've done on the Corn Palace. Marty, you as well too. The hard work that they've done on to make that happen. But was really impressed me the most was the spirit of cooperation that he is showing on saying, you know what, if we don't get this done, this is what we'd like to have done. And Focus 2020 was trying to be about that. Focus 2020 was trying to be about a spirit of cooperation and working together to get things accomplished. And back 5 years ago, and Mel, I have to dispute a little bit. If that gopher pops his head up only once every 5 years, then so be it, because we talked about this 5 years ago. I was in the council meeting, and we said we knew the condition the pool was going to be closed, and that the council was sympathetic towards the aquatic club, and said that yes, we can get through this thing, but hopefully in the next 3 to 5 years that we could do something. Once again, that word hope, Susan, was used. So it's not new. It's something that's been on the plate. I walked away from that council meeting feeling that, you know what, something's going to happen. I felt pretty positive about it. And here, believe it or not, how quickly time flies. It's 5 years later, and we're still talking about the same issue. I know, and obviously Dusty can talk about the condition of the Mitchell Rec Club, but at the time I know there were some issues with that as well too. Two committees made the recommendation to the Focus 2020 group and suggested that a new pool be used. And no, it was not with the idea that it was just the aquatic center. This was supposed to be a healthcare issue, and it was for the quality of life for the community. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of history on that if I could, simply because I felt pretty involved with it, and I felt pretty strongly that we were moving in a direction that Mitchell needed. The community, as Susan had indicated, needs a pool. It does. A community our size, which is that mid-level community, does need an indoor pool. It becomes not only a city of Mitchell, but a surrounding area that is important to us. So I appreciate what you guys do. You always have tough decisions and tough times trying to decide the priorities, but I think it's time we take a real serious look at the indoor pool for the community of Mitchell.
Anyone else? Council?
No, but I'm going to go ahead and make a recommendation to deny City Hall construction project. That's
Second
my
it.
motion.
We have a motion and a second to deny the construction of a new city hall. Any further discussion?
One point is I would like to have delayed, consider, because we're not saying no to City Hall, but right now, we've basically set ourselves up exactly to where we need to be. We've got the perfect location, First and Main. We've got the buildings already purchased and raised, it's level. We've got the plan, and now we need to continue. I'm sorry, I was off. We basically have set ourselves up and positioned ourselves for a new city hall, but I agree with Danny that maybe the timing is not right now because of the way it came in with the cost. But we've purchased the properties where we want to have City Hall. It's First and Main. So we're not saying no to City Hall. This vote is going to say we're going to delay it until we receive the appropriate funding, and we've raised the buildings, and we have a purpose for the building that we're sitting in. And we all know how quickly, as Mark pointed out, how 3 to 5 years has a tendency to slip right by. So when Danny made the motion not to, I just want to make the point is delay. We have no idea what future councils will do, but I certainly hope that they've seen the value of what we have done up to this point to place City Hall where it needs to be at First and Main for some time in the future.
I can go ahead and agree with that, but Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and withdraw my motion and put it on that we would delay the City Hall project construction for a further date, 3 to 4 years down the road, so the funds are available.
And
Susan,
I'll
did you
still second. Yes.
Okay.
And can I just ask, can you just explain the funding part that about the 1.5 million, the numbers that you ran?
The one, basically what we're looking at, what was put together by Marilyn and Ken, is they've identified with the bonds, and Ken kind of stepped through it, we're coming up with our $6.1 million. And then if we move forward with one of the projects, basically City Hall is estimated to be that 5.5 or 6, so we'd be there. But the pool, we know that it would be costing, if we move forward with the pool and if we add the leisure part of it, is right around the $8 million. And so Ken pointed out, in order to get this accomplished, what we would do is we would have, in the year that we built the pool, The next year, we would have to use 200,000 of the commitment that MAC put together to add to it, to the 6.1. And then if we're able to convince the hotel owners, which I've sat in on 3 meetings and have had at this point very positive meetings with the hotel, it's a little difficult to move forward unless you've got a commitment and a drawing and so forth. But it's been positive at this point. So they're looking at the first year of 170 when we build the pool, and then following through with the bond proceeds of a lease purchase of $1.5 million in order to get the pool built. Then the question is then paying for. We've already discussed with Maryland the possibility of the city of Mitchell having funds to pay off some of the bonds when we're looking at the pool and City Hall. And so there is funds available, but I ran today, what I thought was a fairly conservative number is if we're able to move forward with a bid, the amount of, it says 15 years here, but if we use this number in all reality, the 170 would make the bond payment moving forward. So at that point, you would not have anything, no obligations for future with the city as far as the payments are concerned. So that's just one way of looking at it. Is that exactly the way it's going to go? We haven't committed to that, but that is a possibility. Then what that does is there's a potential of moving forward of what you want to bond or obtain funds for the City Hall and the second phase. So it
Jeff,
basically sets us up pretty good.
So the 270 for the tile is already in there either way.
Yes.
We're going to finish that up.
That is correct. That is already in there, Dave.
Now, there's 1.69 million, the 170 and the 1.52, but Terry also asked for another 238 for the ped walkway and the ADAC. Where does that money come from? More bond or?
That, at this point, I guess,
you
it
don't
hasn't
do
been
it.
decided, but yeah, it is not included in here, Dave, anyway.
So that's another.
For our priorities meeting of what we think is important.
And my dad is in the audience, and he knows that I majored in accounting for 1 year before I went into education. So this is a accounting school dropout way that I view this. So I know that we have to pay for it up front, but the way I look at this that makes me feel like it makes sense to me is that we have $6.1 million that we've established is there, whether we do the City Hall or the swimming pool. The Mitchell Aquatics Club has pledged $1 million. In my mind, $1 million added on to 6.1 million brings us to 7.1 million. I could be wrong, but that's how it works in my brain. And then if we do the bid for 10 years at 170, that gives us another 1.7 million. Anyone that knows math and accounting better than me, please pipe in if I'm doing this wrong, because in my mind, there's our $8 million. Is that right?
Well, the only, and this has not been decided upon yet. We have had some preliminary discussions with the motel owners. And as Jeff pointed out, at this point, verbally, they've indicated that they probably would be in support of the additional $1 bid to generate funds for a pool. The thought being that with the swim meets, that they would bring visitors to town and there would be some overnights. So the motels think that they would benefit from the indoor pool. And as a result of that, preliminarily, they have indicated support for it. But again, it has not yet been decided, but the amount that has been discussed amongst the motel owners is $1 million. So the bid would be in effect until $1 million is raised. At $170,000 a year, you can do the math. It probably wouldn't be 10 years, it wouldn't be 15 years as it was originally.
Right.
It would be sunsetted after $1 million is generated.
Mayor, Council, if you don't mind, I have a question on the bid. And this is just purely from been involved with the hockey standpoint. I understand the current bid is set at $1 and it's set to sunset at 5 years. And half of that dollar, 50 cents, is going to pay for the second sheet on the ice. The other half a dollar is going to pay for the Mitchell Sports Authority, which is an organization that was put together to try to attract events to come to the city of Mitchell. My question for you is, are we just going to stop the funding for the Sports Authority once we get to the 5-year sunset so that we can put all the money towards the pool, or are you going to continue to fund the organization that's designed to go out and try to bring people to Mitchell to spend their dollars and to stay in these motel rooms?
I'll try to answer the amount that is to be generated from the $1 bid now. The amount was $400,000. Once the $400,000 is raised, that portion of the bid would sunset. The Sports and Events Authority was funded for 3 years. So if the motel owners should decide to go forward with it, first of all, will they fund the Sports and Events Authority for an additional 3 years or whatever to be determined? The additional 50 cents of that dollar, that once the $400,000 is reached, could either sunset or it could be piggybacked on top of the $1 of the bid that is being proposed for the indoor pool, or $1.50. So it would take less time to get to the $1 million if that's what they would choose to do. Again, these are all preliminary discussions, and nothing has been decided as to what would be done once the $400,000 is raised for the sheet of ice.
I was just going to state that, yes, your math is correct, except that we do not have that money up front.
Right, yeah, I understand that. I understand that that really is where the problem lies. But I keep hearing people say, but you don't have $1.5 million, but we have the means of paying that $1.5 million back if we did buy those bonds or the lease purchase, whatever. But in my mind, that's my non-accounting brain.
Doug, just to follow up a little bit on your question too, is we 1 year into the Sports Authority now and collecting the dollar, and so we came in at, was it 183,000, Marilyn, the first year is what the first, and like Ken pointed out, half of that is going to the ice hockey arena, so we're going to have about 3.5 years left at that rate, or approximately. And then half of it was funding the Sports Authority, of which we already told the hotel owners that we think we're doing a good job, and obviously they'll see that with the amount of nights that are being, people coming to town. So our intent is to continue to follow or to collect the 50 cents for the Sports Authority. Is that Ken and I sit on that committee, and we're, after 1 year into it, we think we're doing Mitchell a service with those funds.
Yeah, that was my question. Thank you for asking. I just want to make sure that we don't forget about one of the main reasons we had the bid put into place, which was to try to generate people coming to Mitchell. Now, Mitchell Aquatic Facility is going to bring 2 events to town a year, and I don't know, I haven't been sitting in on it. Sports Authority doesn't need to do anything. That's already being done. And so, our tourist dollars are paying for us to try to generate business to Mitchell. And I think that's a good thing for Mitchell. And I just want to know whether or not that was addressed. Thank you.
A couple more things I want to add is some of the concern I still have is the phone calls, the emails that I've been hearing in the last couple of weeks. If we go back 2 weeks ago, my decision was really easy. And as Dave said earlier, since we've released the fact that we were going to vote tonight, the other community members that were just sort of lurking in the dark, being sort of quiet, have came full strength forward and voicing their opinion on stay on track and move forward what we've already voted on. We stood behind you when you approved your 13.2 million or 5 million. Didn't get referred, didn't get questioned. I mean, there was people that weren't all in favor of certain things. The library wasn't as big as an issue, I think, as some of the other things, or a hot topic, I should say. But they stood behind us and supported us to move forward on those projects. And here we are thinking about taking one, if not two, of the projects off the list, and that concerns me. The other thing is about, we know the list of numbers we have here, the numbers above the line are real numbers. We have those numbers. The numbers below the line are hopeful numbers. I do believe the MAC will step forward with the $1 million. Now, some people question the $1 million. Why is that not proportionate to what the ICE people raised and percentage-wise compared to the dollar values? I'm just saying what people we're talking about, even though I'm not totally concerned about that. So I believe the $1 million will be there from the MAC. Their promise is good for that. With the motels, I think their word is there too. I wish they would have had maybe something put together with everybody signed it tonight, saying, "Hey, we're willing to do this if you guys vote for a pool." That made me feel a little more comfortable, because right now it's taking a leap of faith again. We had to wait for the pool, or for the ice hockey. We had to wait for that one to be in place before we approved the ice hockey. We didn't take it on a leap of faith. We had to wait for it. We're not waiting for it here. That's why I sort of question that. The other thing is that last number, 1.5 million. Obviously, I voted to borrow 13.2 million. I've obviously voted to vote to borrow some more money. The question is, that number scares me, as in, what is the real final number? If the location changes, if we don't get the support for the Wesleyan, we know we can do this same facility at a standalone. However, Ryan Huber voiced that if we don't put it next to the rec center or next to go to Wesleyan, we have to have a facility for the kids to go cool down or relax, or however you want to say it. Obviously, that number ain't big enough now. If we decide to build west of the middle school, I'm just saying, just throwing out a name that came up and is still discussed. If it goes somewhere else as a standalone, 8 million ain't big enough now. Now we need 10 million. So now we got to borrow 3.5 million, or whatever that number is, 11, 12 million. That's sort of some of the concerns I still have. We don't have a location determined. We really don't know if that's the final number, and how far can it go. So, and like I said, the biggest factor I've been having lately on making my decision is, since we've made this announcement, I cannot tell you how much more people have voiced their opinion on stay on path.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to delay the construction of a new city hall. Roll call vote, please.
Smith?
Aye.
Olson?
No.
Jerks?
Aye.
Barrington?
No.
Tronis?
No.
Rice?
Aye.
Dosher?
No.
And Allen?
Aye.
We have
4-4.
4-4.
Congratulations.
Well, I guess this doesn't totally surprise me. I have gotten a lot of feedback and input from council members, from the public. I've laid awake at nights thinking about what is the right thing to do. And initially, we had a plan in place for a new city hall. And when I was elected mayor, I indicated that that was one of my first priorities, because I thought that in order for us to go forward with the phase 2 of the Corn Palace construction and convert a vacated city hall to something that I thought that was important. Then the idea of building a second sheet of ice came about, and I said, well, I can certainly see the need and importance for having a second sheet of ice, and that would benefit a lot the motels, the youth of our community. And so I deferred and said, sure, I will support the second sheet of ice. Now here we are again tonight with the same type of decision, and I am certainly in favor of, as Mel put it, going forward with phase 2, because that was really a priority that I had 2 years ago, or more than 2 years ago. And at that time, even though there was discussion of an indoor pool and had been ongoing for quite some time, I thought that it probably would be done in conjunction with either a renovation of the existing rec center and building a new pool, or that we would maybe wait until we had funding to build a new rec center with an indoor swimming pool. So my thought over the last couple of years that probably the indoor pool is probably going to wait for a few years until some of these other projects are completed. However, the notion of building a indoor swimming pool was presented, and I think that they have made a very compelling case in that the existing above ground pool days are numbered, and the existing pool at the rec center, though it does serve a purpose, is not of a nature that is going to provide swimming for the aquatic club and have meets. And you know, we've as we discussed gone to the motels. They at this point have indicated support for it. So even though I would very much like to proceed with the new City Hall and Phase 2, I think that the majority of the citizens of Mitchell would benefit more from an indoor swimming pool than they would for a City Hall. As Dan has pointed out, this is a vote to delay City Hall, not to scrap it. And for that reason, I am going to vote in support or an aye to build the indoor pool rather than City Hall, with hopes that within 3 or 4 years that we would be able to move forward with the City Hall, and then also at the same time proceed with Phase 2 of the Corn Palace project. So my vote is an aye to delay the construction of City Hall. And the vote then is 5-4 in favor of a delay. Having completed that discussion, maybe the next item on the agenda is a moot point, but if there is anyone who wishes to make any comments regarding the proposed indoor swimming pool project, now is the time to do that. And if not, we will then take a roll call vote on whether or not to proceed with the construction of an indoor swimming pool. So I would entertain a motion unless there's discussion.
Well, I think we should decide where we're going to put it. You know, it's fine to talk about a mythical pool with mythical financing and a mythical location, but depending on where it is determines where a lot of community support is or is not.
Well, I agree that it's a very important decision to make. However, I think that a lot of the comment that I heard during this debate was that we are in support of an indoor swimming pool regardless of location. So that's why I put it on this way, that first we decide whether or not that we would go forward with the City Hall at this time, or whether we go forward with an indoor pool, and that certainly it's an important decision, but I think that the decision of whether to build the pool or the City Hall was the first order of business, and that we can still have the debate and discussion. And I think that not having that part of the discussion on the agenda to give any and everyone an opportunity to speak to that issue, I would certainly think that at the next council meeting that decision can and probably should be made. But I think that that rather than to decide on it tonight, that I would rather that it be deferred to the next meeting.
So then I would make a motion that we proceed with the construction of a new indoor swimming pool at a yet to be determined location. And price. Location.
I just want to say I'll be
Uh,
voting no for several reasons, but one is without a location. I think this discussion is premature.
I'm going to second that. Susan?
And your motion is to go forward with the construction of an indoor swimming pool with a location to be determined?
Correct.
And that's your second?
Yes.
Discussion, Mr. Hotzler.
Ed Potzler again. With the now defunct City Hall temporarily delayed, there was going to be very little or no additional operational costs. Remember, if you vote yes for an indoor pool, you are probably looking for an additional 160, possibly with two pools, $200,000 operational and manning that has to be year in, year out for the city budget. That will bring the total cost of pools for Mitchell, a middle-sized city, to over $1 million a year, 3% of your budget for swimming.
Thank you.
Notwithstanding the motion, there's still, everybody realizes this, I know. A lot of things have to fall into place for a motion to come to reality.
Marty DeBoer, I'd just would like to contest your statement, Mr. Mayor, on location. Being in business, location. And I can only speak for myself. I have a preference for a location, and the location would change my opinion on the project. So that being said, you're saying no, I'm saying yes, location does make a difference. Thank you.
And I do agree with Ken that I think we need to first identify if we want to move forward with a pool, and to try to incorporate that into one meeting of the location would almost been overwhelming. We'd have been here till midnight. So I think, as Marty pointed out and Carl did, location is very important, but there's several things that we need to continue to work on. But I think with Susan's motion, either going up or down with proceeding with a pool, do we just do the competitive? Do we look at the leisure? Do we look at the location? I think first of all, there has to be a commitment of, do we want to invest in our youth and in our community, and first get that decided, and then start working on the other details. And at any point in time, the council always reserves the right to say, no, I guess that's just not for us. Originally voted for it, but I don't think that maybe that's the case. But I think tonight, I think it's important for us to at least make a decision on continuing to investigate the possibility of building a pool in Mitchell.
Wouldn't we need to establish the funding before we actually said we're going to build it? Wouldn't we want to get those things squared away and then say how much, where, because that's pretty critical to the next step, I think.
And that's why I sort of mentioned the price one, because 6 million, 8 million, I mean, so are we approving this funding mechanism right now by 8 million? Is that what the thought process is?
That wasn't your motion, was it, Susan?
My motion was simply that we would proceed with the construction of an indoor swimming pool and the determination of the location, and which one of the versions of the pool, I guess, would be yet to be determined.
And I guess, again, I would oppose the motion for several reasons. I think, I understand what you're saying, Jeff, but when you say to these people tonight, yes, we're going to proceed with an indoor pool, and then at a later date say, well, $10 million is too much, or we can't swing the 8 million, or the location is inappropriate, and so we're going to vote no, these folks are going to come back with some justification and say, we sat through a 3-hour meeting, and you said you were going to build a pool, and now you're not going to. I guess my preference would be, I lost that previous motion, and that's fine. We're not going to build a city hall. I would prefer us to just leave it at that. These people understand where the majority of people are, and then you investigate the financing, and if the financing isn't there, it's not there, and you have not made a commitment that then is reported in the minutes and reported in the paper and all those kinds of things, and you're breaking that promise, or you get into a situation where the location is inappropriate. I'll just use Cadwell, for example. I thought I was being a genius by promoting Cadwell, and then Ryan came up and said, well, we couldn't have our meets in the winter. Okay, so now the location is Cadwell. And so now maybe the MAC says, well, you know, we're happy with the pool, but good Lord, what are you doing? So I think the appropriate thing is we've kicked this dog into a coma, let it sleep for a while, and talk about the other issues and then come back. So I guess I would urge people, even if they're in favor of a pool, to vote no at this point, and save yourself the grief of having to explain at the next election or 3 meetings from now why you're voting no.
And Mel, I'll echo this a little bit. We all agree, obviously, not all agree, but we've made a point that City Hall is going to be delayed. I've always been in favor of both projects, so I am in favor of the pool portion of this. But I do echo Mel some of the concerns. We've never moved forward on a project with some of the if, and, buts, or ors that we have on this piece of paper. I'd like to see commitment from the hotel owners in some kind of written verbiage that they'll be behind this with their dollar. Once again, I know the MAC and Ryan Huber and the gang there will be there. Maybe, like I said, once again, maybe written commitment from them also, just so the public knows it's going to be there. And to get to and find out once again, what option are we going to go with? What is our real number? There's some means. City Hall's not going to have us delayed. I'm in favor of a pool, but I think we need to have some more explanation on exactly what dollar amount. I do agree that the location is concerned. That's my other comment that I had for people when they called me up and said, in favor of pool, in favor of pool. I cannot tell you the next question or the statement out of their mouth was the location of it. And sadly to say, some of it wasn't in the best of means of what we've been hearing out on the streets. So City Hall's not going to happen for a while. The pool is going to happen for a while. I just think we need some more definite answers before we vote on what.
I think that what my motion does is just says in good faith, our plan is to do what we have been hearing loudly and with, a preponderance of the opinions that have been expressed to me. And I know people think and assume that it's all Mitchell Aquatic Club people. It's not. It is across the board. I did something today. I put it on Facebook. I said, I'm asking for an informal survey, pool or City Hall. And I will tell you that I probably had, at first I thought it would be 10-1. It was probably 20-1 in favor of a pool. And the vast majority of those people did not say a pool only if it's located wherever. They said, we need a pool. And so what we're saying with this motion is we will work out the details, but we're saying to the city of Mitchell in good faith, our plan is to move ahead with the pool, which is what we have been hearing loud and clear is what the desire of the people is.
And I think delaying City Hall does that. I think it does that. If you put on Facebook, are you for a $12 million pool or a $10 million pool, or are you for a pool in a particular location, you would get a different response. But when you say, are you for a City Hall or a pool, people say, I'm for the pool. Now that people say, yes, I'm for the pool, are you for a $10 million pool? I don't know, maybe a $5 million pool. Are you for a pool here or there or the other place? So, I don't think you can extrapolate support for anything pool related from your Facebook poll, which is why I think Dan's motion says what you say without tying people into a commitment that maybe you can't or don't want to keep when it comes down to price or location, or maybe you don't have the leisure pool or whatever the case may be.
But Mel, don't you think that when we get to the point that we're making that decision, then we determine those things? That's when now that we've said we'll do the pool, then we work out the details and we can ask those questions and we can hear those opinions.
I'm going to make a recommendation, Mayor, that next week we want to vote on the pool tonight for these fine folks to get something done. They need to do something else besides coming up and listen to us. Let's come next week with option A, B, and C, and let's vote on it for next week. But tonight, I think we need to vote on these fine folks for a pool tonight.
Yeah, I agree, Danny, and one of the comments that Marty made, I want to step back with our first bid that we had at the hotel. When we first looked at the ice arena, we had a $2.5 million project, of which the Mitchell Skating and Hockey Association brought in $500,000 income, and the city did $2 million in bonds. When we got the numbers back, the estimates came in at 2.9. At that point in time, I went to the hotel owners and said, here's what our dilemma is. So there was a project already in place. We thought we had the funding mechanism, but sometimes you have to move forward with saying, I'm committed to a project, because would the hotel owners have said, yes, we'll do that, if the council wouldn't originally had voted on moving forward with it? I don't know that answer. But here's what we're tonight, and I agree with Danny, we need to vote on this to say, we are going to continue to investigate building a pool. I think we have to go on record saying that we are going to continue to move forward with that, and then we can sit down with the hotel owners again and say, here's where we're at, the council's in favor of it, so then will you work with us to see if we can get to the point of being able to fund it? We all agree that Ryan and his group are going to come in with $1 million. The question mark probably comes down to the hotel bid, and if the hotel owners say no, which is their prerogative, then we have to come back, and I don't, who knows at that point if there's going to be interest or not. But so that's where I'm going to be at with the vote, is just taking another step, saying that I think the city of our size needs to have a pool. I don't know why we want to continue to have our home meets in Pierre and Sioux Falls and Huron. It's time to have them in Mitchell, and I think it's time to invest in our youth and bringing young families another reason to come and move to Mitchell.
I think the decision's been made. I mean, the decision to move forward has been made. And I think, like all businesses, everything else, once the decision's made, you get on board and you support that decision. The thing is, though, I don't want to get into a ready, fire, aim. Let's make sure we put this thing what's best for the city. And I don't think that's going to be done in 2 weeks, because I think there's a lot of people that have feelings on that. And I'd rather take the time and get that proper input, and let's make sure we put it in the right spot. Because I do agree that if it's in one location, we're going to hear a lot more than if it's in another location. We've all experienced it with the phone calls we've got.
And I guess we can vote on that next week with the location, which you did say earlier, Mayor. And then let's bring up the option A, B, and C that we've got presented 2 weeks ago, and let's vote on it. I mean, what's wrong with making a decision here? Why do we always have to delay something?
I tell you why, because words have meaning, and this is my legislative experience coming in. The motion is, do you favor proceeding with, we favor proceeding with the construction of a new indoor swimming pool at a yet to be determined location. That is a blank check. You say yes tonight, you are saying regardless of cost, we're for that. Regardless of where the location is, we're for that. What these people have heard tonight is we're not moving forward with City Hall. They've heard people express an opinion to move forward with an indoor pool. I'm not willing to say I'm for a pool wherever in town it is. I'm not willing to say I'm for a pool no matter how much money it is. But when you vote for this, that is what you are saying. And if that's what you're saying, that's fine.
And I've been in business all my life. Make a decision, Mel, and live with it now. So,
okay, then my decision will be no.
That's fine. You just said it.
Can we call the question?
Yeah, we have a motion and a second to vote on whether to proceed with the construction of a new indoor swimming pool with a yet to be determined location and cost. Roll call vote.
There was no cost in there.
Did she not add that?
No, I just said that yet
With
to
the
be determined.
location to be determined, period?
Period.
Okay. That's the motion.
Olson?
Roll call vote, please.
Olson?
No.
Tronis?
No.
Barrington?
Interpretation is a lot to do with my vote. I am going to vote support to move forward with the pool. I have major concerns based on people that have been calling me on location and price. So with that being said, when we go to the next level in 2 weeks or a month and we talk about location and price, my vote may change. Aye.
Jerks,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Dosher,
No.
Allen,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
5 yes and 3 no.
Motion carried.
Perfect.
We will proceed with the rest of the agenda on the council. If there are any number of you that may wish to leave now.
Mayor, may we take a
we'll
short
allow
break?
that, and- Yeah, no. Yeah.
Can we take a short break? Can we take a short break?
Sure, just. We will take a 10-minute break. It's only 9:30.
It's just resolution, we're just gonna, do a voice vote unless you wanna.
That's fine with me.
Carl, is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. All those in favor of placing ordinance 2487 on second reading indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2487. Roll call vote.
Didn't Carl say that? No, that was the other one. That was, never mind, yeah.
That's why we.
Yeah, that.
We're on the right track.
Aye.
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 And then ordinance 2487 is adopted. Ordinance 2498, an ordinance of the City of Mitchell, South Dakota, rezoning the real property legally described as lots 3, 4, and 5, Block 2, 1717 West 8th Avenue, lots 6 through 11, Block 2, 1620 West 7th Avenue, lots 1 through 6, Block 3 or 1821 West 8th Avenue, lots 1, 2, and 3, and 10 of Block 4, 701 North Blair Street, all in the Home Park Original and addition, Davidson County, to be rezoned from TWC or Transportation Warehouse and Commercial District to R4 High Density Residential District, and the official zoning map be changed to reflect the same.
Just a reminder, not at this last planning commission meeting, but the planning commission before, they did they did recommend approval of this rezoning. You may recall that it's the one on the first block, Block 2 is where the applicant is requesting it, and planning commission's recommendation was if that party could get all of them to be contiguous, that's why you have the 3 dots, it's all there, and they have all indicated that they are receptive to rezoning them as well, and so in other words, it basically what the planning commission's recommendation was, and then our first reading is that it would be consistent throughout. They'd all be R4.
I'm going to move to place ordinance 2498 on second reading.
Motion and second to place ordinance 2498 on second reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Second.
Motion carried. Roll call vote for adoption of ordinance 2498.
Aye.
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 Ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 2499, an ordinance of the City of Mitchell, South Dakota, rezoning the real property legally described as west 1/2 of the northwest quarter of Section 3, Township 103 North, Range 60 West, Davidson County, to be rezoned from TWC to Urban Development District, and the official zoning map to be changed to reflect the same.
Again, on page 97, there's a map showing where this property is, and not at this last meeting, but the meeting prior, the planning commission did recommend approval of this. This is related to the moving permit that will be coming up momentarily. And so the owner basically had decided that he just as soon, the owner of Dr. Haley, owns that whole quarter, and already half of it was urban development, the other half was TWC. He would just as soon make it the whole quarter consistent.
Motion placed on second reading.
Motion second to place ordinance 2499, second reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move to adopt.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2499. Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 And ordinance 2499 is adopted. Ordinance 2500, supplemental appropriations, and Maryland indicated that there is an amendment, but that amendment does not change the body of the.
It does not change the amount of anything, just the funding source. Page 99, special revenue fund for entertainment tax. It has that funding will come from the general fund, and actually the funding from this should be from the third penny entertainment tax collection. So that's just a correction.
and we can go ahead and vote and adopt if that is your wish.
I'll move to put ordinance 2500 on second reading with the funding source correction.
Motion second to place ordinance 2500 on second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion second to adopt ordinance 2500. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 The ordinance 2500 is adopted. Ordinance 2501, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2482 by adding specifications to the application of section 9-1-7 as enacted by ordinance number 2482.
Move to put ordinance 2501 on second reading.
Second.
Motion second, place ordinance 2501, second reading. All in favor say aye.
Ken, can I,
Yes.
real quickly? I got called or emailed on this today. Is this the one with installation of the fire alarms? And the concern is obviously that's not an issue, is the apartments that they have, their concern was having them in the kitchen, because they said whenever a piece of toast is burnt or you fry your hamburger too much, then what will happen is, she said they'll basically the battery will come out or the whole alarm. And being the fact it is an apartment, she says very rarely is there not another smoke alarm or smoke detector within about 8 feet of where the kitchen is at. So I think maybe Linda, did you have a conversation with that individual?
I've had conversations with some people on it.
Good, okay. And I don't know, basically they said, theoretically, if we enact this tonight, they will be in direct violation, because they've never put them in the kitchens as a
Right.
result of that.
I wouldn't have a problem taking that out of there, but I don't know what your feeling is, but.
Yeah, that's what she said.
I know what happens is they remove
In
them.
the hallway around the kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I wouldn't have a problem taking that part out.
I'm with the chief.
We need to amend it?
Well, I think we have to have it on second reading to amend it. So.
Right.
So I made the motion. I don't know who seconded, but.
Move to adopt.
We had a motion and a second to place on second reading.
Yeah.
And did we have the voice vote?
We'll wait for that. I mean,
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion to
Aye.
place on second reading has been made, and now
I will move to adopt with amendment that the fire detector is not going to be required in the kitchen.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 2501 with the amendment that the requirement would be not to require that the fire alarms detectors be placed in the kitchen. Roll call vote.
Barrington?
Aye.
Tronis?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Allen?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Gosher?
Aye.
Rice?
Aye.
Ordinance 2501 is adopted. Consider approval. The Insurance Committee requests approval of the contract for a health benefits consulting agreement which separates the consultants from the health insurance contract with the city, benefiting by having consultants who will assist in the preparation and evaluation of requests for proposals and act as a fiduciary capacity to the city.
Is this kind of a blanket from every year we do this? Is it?
Billy, do you have an explanation?
What this contract is a way to separate our insurance consultant from Dakota Care. We will have Dakota Care again this next year because we're not taking price quotes, but Dice Financial has always been connected to Dakota Care, and Dakota Care has paid their fees. We saw a need to have a consultant that can actually, look at Dakota Care, look at Wellmark, look at whatever's out there for us, and also help us project You all know the situation that our health fund has been in, and Dice Financial can help us sit down and look toward the future in that. This will cost the exact same as what we've always been paying. It's $3 per employee, so it'd be $498 per month, but that's what they've always gotten. It's just they got the check from Dakota Care, and now they'll get the check directly from us. And we believe that that way they can represent more than just Dakota Care, and I think that's in the best interest of the city.
So at $3 per month per employee, roughly $6,400 a year.
Yep.
We paid that fee in the past?
We have been paying it through our health fund to Dakota Care, and then Dakota Care would pay it to them. It's the exact same fee, though. It's just now they work for us instead of Dakota Care if this is approved.
I think it's a good move. I'm going to move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the request for the contract for health benefits. Any further discussion?
Oh, if I could just say, when you said 6,400, not all of our employees are on our health plan. There's about 12 that are not. So it's really about like 5,900 or whatever. Yeah.
Roll call vote.
Rice,
Abstain?
Gosher,
Aye.
Barrington,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Tronis,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
And the motion is adopted. Authorize Mayor Tracy to sign the contract for audit services for fiscal year January 1, 2014 through December 31, 2014, and this was continued from the September 15, 2014 City Council meeting. And you have information in your packet regarding the request for proposals that was requested and the results of that. We received 2 requests for proposals, one from ELO and one from Gary Larson. And you can.
It's, I just wanted to point out that it's pretty typical in the audit industry that you can lock in multi-years. In fact, that's basically what you see in the business world. And it does, and what happens at that point is the auditing firm has committed to, so they can have what's offered here is a 3-year contract. And so they know that they are able to lock in a lower price as a result of it. And the other thing is it's always good to periodically change auditors, irregardless of what happened this past year. It's a new set of eyes is always good. And I know this is not the cheaper of the two, but given we've got a local firm and it's not that much more expensive, but I firmly believe that I think it's time to let a different auditing firm in and take a look at all the finances and financials of the city of Mitchell.
I think based on last year's activity or this year's activity, another set of eyes is probably real good.
Are they gonna do anything different, looking at different departments?
You know, I don't know. As you know, it isn't spelled out real well what Gary does, but it is as far as ELO. They give specific times and identify the different areas that they will be. And I see the one item that is in with the ELO proposal is cash, which I think is obviously very important to have that taken a good look at this year. And I know we've implemented Stephanie's brought forward a new cash policy that will be brought into place, but I don't know, Marilyn, did you see many changes or differences in the 2 proposals?
No, either one would be able to perform it.
The only other thing that I go back to is there was a question about whether or not you could utilize legislative audit, and they have quite a few audits on their time or on their plate right now with having to do the required counties. But I would say that if the council still, even after your audit, if you still wanted to have an additional look at your two departments that handle cash in addition to what a typical audit is. You can always go that route too for that extra level, but that would be an option available to you that would go beyond what you're auditing.
Actually, I believe ELO or Gary would be able to look at that without the additional expense of the state coming in. The practice was when we had Gary that we would review internal controls. We did it about every 3 years. We were up for that in 2013, but because of the pending investigation of the Corn Palace, we did not proceed with that. So I think certainly Gary or ELO will be able to look at the cash, look at those processes, and will be able to guide us on doing those without additional cost. I had asked all of the departments, and we have put together narrative for all of the departments that collect cash on how they do it, and that's what we would have done in 13. We all put those together. Those are reviewed by the auditor. I think that will be done with, and can be done without expense.
The other thing I think would be good is, I know Gary doesn't live here, but when the audit is presented, Marilyn always presented the audit. I think it's good to have your CPA that was as the partner to actually come in and make that presentation. And I don't even know what Gary looks like.
You what?
I don't even know what Gary looks like.
You've been to, we had closing conferences. I know you've been there.
Well, not casting any aspersions, but I just think politically, after the trouble that we had, you can't go back to the same. I just think that would be very difficult, even if there's, no problem with Mr. Larson at all, even if he did absolutely everything correct. I think to go back to the community and say, we had these difficulties and we're going right back to the same guy, I think that would be a hard sell.
I would entertain a motion,
I
or
will
Marilyn,
move.
do you have a comment?
I was just going to say, I agree with you. It does not hurt to change. I mean, we've had Gary for many years, and he certainly has no problem with that either. ELO is local.
And obviously, we can't commit for 3 years, but we can at least tell ELO that we are. And then future councils will fund, just like we do other type projects that do happen. So do we have a motion?
No.
I'm going to move that we proceed with the 3-year contract with ELO.
I have a motion and a second to award a contract for audit services to ELO. Any further discussion? All those indicate by a roll call vote.
There you go. Almost. Almost.
Aye.
Allen?
Aye.
Barrington?
Aye.
Dosher?
Aye.
Tronis?
Aye.
Rice?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving permit for Dr.
Just a
Michael.
second. Did you say something, Randy?
Yes, it did. I'm losing my signal, so I'm just going to go ahead and back out right now. It's in and out.
I'm sorry.
Okay, goodbye.
He said he's losing his signal, so he's gonna get off the line.
Oh, okay.
Pretty good battery.
Okay, buddy. We'll see you
Thank
later.
you all for putting up with me.
Yep.
Yep.
Thanks, Randy.
Yep.
Randy's bedtime.
A moving permit for Dr. Michael Helly to move a house and garage located at 309 West Norway to 235 East 54th, legally described as the west one half of the northwest quarter, Section 3, Township 103 North, Range 60 West, Davidson County.
This is one of Dakota Wesleyan's houses, and they're moving it out to the area that you just rezoned. And he's gonna kind of straddle it somewhere in between where the two lines are, and so that was kind of what's facilitated this is. So,
Expect to see more houses moved, from what I understand.
I'm not sure who's this one?
All of them were moved this fall yet, and
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the moving permit. Roll call vote, please.
Allen?
Aye.
Barrington?
Aye.
Dosher?
He's off.
Oh, that's right. Tronis?
Aye.
Rice?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye. Motion carried. Entertain a motion for the city council to enter into executive session.
So move.
Second.
Motion second to enter executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.